with all the latest direct from the NBL?
That is enormous!
Well, download the free NBL app now. It's jam-packed with live scores, stats, exclusive content, and much more. Get it from the App Store and Google Play now.
Hello and welcome to what is affectionately known as Australia's Playground for the second end of this double-header open up the NBL Blitz weekend and week, of course. The earlier game, Southeast Melbourne Phoenix going down to the Tasmania Jack Jumpers, but right now the Brisbane Bullets looking to get their season on track, at least in the pre-season, against Melbourne United. Peter Hooley joins me here. I'm Felix von Hoff. The Brisbane Bullets, we'll start with them. They've got a lot to turn around from last year, but I'll tell you what, this is a totally revamped roster.
Well, firstly, it's good to be here with you on the Gold Coast, NBL 24 right around the corner. You can't read too much into pre-season games in the Blitz, but I'm excited to be up here. The crowd is going nuts. Just the vibe, actually, around here is awesome to see. But you're right, the Bullets, and there's going to be a lot of Bullets fans in attendance. They want to see a rejuvenated, a refreshed, a new look Brisbane Bullets outfit, and there are some key pieces that I think are going to help that. And it's going to start with a new head coach, Justin Schuller. We know him very well. Used to coach us a little bit. I'm excited to see what they can do. The big fella in the middle, Rocco Sikorsky, the next star, he's an excitement machine. But if there's one player that I'm looking forward to seeing turn this club around a bit, Isaac White. They're bringing him in. He's been starved of opportunity as a nominated replacement player. He's been balling out in the preseason. He's in front of us with no sleeves on, as per usual, in a normal jersey. But he hates sleeves anyway. But I'm excited to see him get some opportunity under Justin Schuller and the Bullets.
Well, you talk about the Brisbane Bullets just having an absolutely horrid run last year when we look at it from a management perspective, from an on-court perspective. What could go wrong went wrong. And if you're going to turn that around, not only do you start with a new head coach in Justin Schuller, but a totally revamped roster from top to bottom. And as you mentioned, Rocco Sikorsky probably isn't going to have the biggest impact of all players, but he's going to be the most watched for sure.
He definitely is. And again, he's not draft eligible and part of the Next Stars program until 2025, so he's a 2-year prospect. Has shown flashes in some of these pre-season games already. No Tyrell Harrison tonight, so we're going to see the big fella. I'm not sure how much in the season we will see. Aaron Baines is healthy. There was some reports from the Herald Sun that he's not going to play, but Aaron Baines is going to be playing tonight. But you're right, they finished 9th. They only had 8 wins. They had 3 head coaches, nearly as many wins as head coaches last year.
3 head coaches in 3 weeks.
Exactly right. So and they nearly lost by 50 at one stage to the Kings. So a lot didn't go right for them, but they've brought in Justin Schuller. They bring in Darryl McDonald as well. There's a whole culture change, and again, I think a lot of that is going to come down to the roster. Shannon Scott, a tremendous signing in the point guard position. He was awesome for the Taipans. Exactly what this team needs, because I think it's going to unlock back to that MVP level Nathan Sobey that we saw a few years ago before he got hurt.
Well, you also spoke about the crowd, the turnout today in the Gold Coast. Of course, it's a fantastic place to be. But the Brisbane Bullets, even through the most tumultuous season, one of the most tumultuous seasons in their franchise history, they still came out in droves. They still sold out their final game of the season. So it's no surprise to see this venue absolutely packed from top to bottom with Brisbane Bullets fans. And I'll tell you what, the kids are fired up behind us as well. But let's switch to Melbourne United for a moment, who, of course, coming off a tough first half of their previous season, but the back half was quality. Now, there's a lot of new faces out there, as we usually see with Melbourne, but again, they've got a lot to build off in that second half of last year.
Well, you can say whether it's right or wrong, but they were the hottest team going in to the latter end of the season.
10-3.
Unfortunately, fell 1 bucket shy of making the play-in tournament, which you look back and you don't want to harp on 1 bucket here or there, but they kicked themselves with some bad losses early. And look, you talk about winning the off-season. Melbourne United are one of those teams who have won the off-season. Their recruitment has been outstanding. And obviously to bring Joe Luala-Chul back, he went to play in China. He wanted to come back because he said that this is his next pathway. Another big season here to make the jump to the NBA, and we're going to speak to him in the second quarter. He's going to be out still with a wrist injury. He's nice enough to come give us a few minutes, so we'll pick his brain. Delhi, back from the Sacramento Kings. Flynn Cameron's an excitement machine. I'm excited to see what he can do. But the one player Perth fans aren't too happy about, I'm sure, but Luke Travers, just to see what he's going to continue to build on. They want to see him fit that Jack White mould. We know what Jack White did under Dean Vickerman. I'm excited to see Luke Travers out here in MU colours.
Well, speaking of a lot of new faces out here, how about this one? Not a new face to the basketball community by any means. Alice Kunag joins us here.
Hello, thank you for having me, Felix and Pete. How are you going?
Good, we're going very well. Hopefully even better as this one starts to tip off. But what are your thoughts early here? Of course, the Brisbane Bullets, we've spoken on a new look roster.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on them coming into this?
Yeah, look, it's great to be here. An amazing atmosphere here in the Gold Coast and ready to get this one underway. Absolutely looking forward to that next start in Rocco Zakarski. Impressed to see what he can bring, and I'm sure there'll be a lot of NBA fans and NBA scouts watching him here today. I heard Ian Clark hasn't missed a shot since last week against Southeast Melbourne Phoenix, but I think these two coaches really, it's their defensive sides here. So they're really going to bring their best defensive game. So it'll be an interesting contest, and I'm really looking forward to this one, guys.
Love it. We're going to be catching up with Alice courtside. She's going to be all around the timeouts and across everything in this game here. Alice Kunak, everyone. Now, Pete, of course, Ariel Huckporty going out early for Melbourne United with the Achilles injury. It was heartbreaking, but we saw throughout, especially the beginning of that season, the impact that it had on Melbourne on the defensive end. It was almost an uncurable loss.
Oh, it was. And look, speaking to him and the Melbourne United staff before this game, there's a lot of nerves for Huckporty stepping out on this floor, knowing what happened this time last year at the Blitz. He was set up for a massive year looking forward and then went down with an Achilles injury. It's always nerve-wracking to come back to not the same spot, but the same time of the year, the same scenery. But I'm looking forward to seeing, because they're going to need a big start of the season for him with no Joe Luala-Chul. He's going to get more extended minutes. The season before that, played 30 games, only had 15 minutes a game, but had 7 points, showed those flashes. And Alice mentioned it. Up to our left, there's about 40 NBA scouts here. They've all got their notepads out. So it's weird. We talk about how, firstly, a tremendous job Liam Santamaria has done in the Next Stars program, bringing in 8 of them. Rocco Zakarski, he's going to be on that 2025 watch list. But we've kind of forgotten about Huckporty because he had that year off. Still with the aspirations to make the NBA as part of that program, and I think a big year. He's going to, not currently on any draft board, he's going to rocket onto that and rocket up it.
Well, certainly as two players with both of us that never were in the eyesights of NBA scouts, you can imagine the extra layer of pressure it is when you see these guys in the crowd who certainly don't hide themselves. They're wearing their team polos.
Team polos, notepads out. It's very obvious who the NBA scouts. But you're right, it would be a nerve-wracking thing, and I think it's going to continue to be. You know the eyeballs are on you once you make the NBA, so it's a good learning curve, and there's some big players around all week, and I'm looking forward to seeing how that goes tonight.
A little under 2 minutes until we tip this one off. Pete, I want to know, from a Brisbane perspective, going off last year, and it's hard with a totally new-look roster, what is the number one change that you want to see more success for this Bullets franchise?
I think it's that offensive continuity. I mean, it's easy to say defense. They weren't particularly good on the defensive end last year, but just to see how they move the ball. And that's why I said Shannon Scott and Mitch Norton are two massive pieces to bring in. Shannon Scott is a pass-first point guard. He's going to get up and in defensively. But it allows Nathan Sobey, for the first time in a long time, not have to worry about being a point guard and set up the team. Go to the shooting guard position and try and get buckets. Try and ball out. I think we're going to see that from Nathan Sobey, and that's why I think Shannon Scott and Mitch Norton, he's a big culture guy. So we'll see what their offense looks like.
Well, we forget as well that Nathan Sobey's got a lot to prove because he's still on the radar for that Paris team.
Came out and said that he thought he could offer a little bit more, him and Baines, and it's only 8 months, so a really good NBL season, and who knows what could happen.
It is. In Melbourne United on the other side of the floor?
Defense. That's what it comes down to, and the versatility that they have, especially when JLA comes back. Luke Travers playing the 4. Tanner Krebs playing against his old team straight up, and if you don't read too much into Blitz games and you think these teams are going 80%, they don't want to go too hard, you've got a new-look Melbourne United team coming up against their old assistant coach in Justin Schuller, who wants the Bullets to start well. This game actually means something. This game definitely means something. Schuller wants to leave this saying, okay, I've got one up over Dean Vickerman.
It's always funny when ex-coaches, I feel more so, coaches that have come from the same program and moved on to another club, they want to win those games far more than a player playing against an old club or teammates playing against old teammates.
Well, you'd be a bit flat then if you are Dean Vickerman, because most of your assistant coaches you've had since you entered the league have gone on to be head coaches elsewhere. Mike Kelly, Simon Mitchell, now Justin Schuller. But we have a look at the starters for this game. Aaron Baines, Nathan Sobey, Josh Bannon. We didn't touch on him in the pre-game. We have to talk about him. Chris Smith, who had some pretty decent shooting in the preseason games. And then for Melbourne United, Ian Clark, Huckporty, Luke Travers, Chris Golding, and Shea Illy. So a lot of people expected Ian Clark to be a 6th man of the year coming off the bench, and right now Delhi's going to be the one coming off the bench. Shea Illy getting the starting nod.
Which is a shock at this point.
I'm not sure if it's going to stay like that. Maybe that's what the Blitz is for, to look at, but we'll find out.
Well, we're about to tip this one off. Both seasons getting started. The Brisbane Bullets getting ready to set us off. And there you see Shea Illy with that sort of defensive hustle straight from the get-go. Pete, that's what he's brought into this team to do.
Well, that's what it's just great to see him back on the floor. We know he had his concussion problems last year, but he had an outstanding World Cup, especially offensively, as Baines trying to take Huckporty down low. And if you're a Brisbane fan, you're just excited to see Baines get another crack at it in a full year of being healthy and see what the big fella can bring.
There's Nathan Sobey, looks to take it through the middle against Huck Porty, who is going to need to fill that defensive gap. He can't do it that time. Sobey for the quick two.
Good smarts from Nathan Sobey there. The shot fake, get Hook Porty off.
And Ian Clark with an impressive 19 points in the final quarter of their last warm-up game. There's Ian Clark, who we just spoke of, looking to get into the paint from Turner. Gets that one to go and one.
It is a shock to see him starting in this. I think I expected some points coming off the bench.
But there's been a lot of trust in this team with Shea Ili at the point guard. You look, they were 10-3 when Shea Ili was playing last year. Of course, he only played the 14 games due to injury, but the team was 10-3 when he was on the court.
Well, the one thing for Ian Clark for sure, I mean, you look at what he can do. He only played 10 games last season. This is the first time he's had a full preseason with a team. He's been in the NBL twice. He won a title with the Kings, but he came in halfway. We know what happened with the Adelaide 36ers. Probably wasn't the best situation for him to step into, and now he gets a whole year under him in the NBL, and he wants to get back and get another ring. 2 rings in 3-year potential.
And one of the prospects to watch for the Bullets there, Smith, as Baines looks to fire from the outside. Can't get that to fall, but Bannon, the Montana recruit, can't get that one to fall. Josh Bannon's going to be another interesting one. Now, I know whether you look at the game from a super coach perspective. Huck Porty flushes that one down, and that's the sort of excitement that this team was missing last year.
Well, that's the thing that Oriel Hook Porty can do. He's a great rim blocker, protecting on this end, and then just gets out and sprints the lanes. And that was the one knock on him when he first got to the league, and Dean Bickman spoke about his motor. Couldn't get out past really 15 to 20 minutes. He's going to have to play more than that without JLA. But the way he gets up and down the floor, and that was pecs above the rim.
I'll tell you what, it's always hard to read what comes out of team camps. But apparently, according to Melbourne United, Hook Porty is actually jumping higher than he was previous to his injury. Shannon Scott looks to work. Josh Bannon getting a bit of the ball early. Can't get that one to fall. Shea Ili takes it away. Huck Porty again. He's going to draw the foul. Can't get it to fall, but you can already see the impact that he's having on the team and filling the gaps that they were missing so early in the year.
Yeah, just a promising start from Hook Porty, but again, he's just getting in the right spot. And you talk about him being more athletic than pre-Achilles injury. He's put on some size, spent a lot of time in the weight room, and he set some really big screens, which opens that up. Shea Ili, outstanding operator in the pick and roll. Little drop off to Hook Porty, and he's definitely one NBA scouts going to be looking at.
Well, that's the interesting one. Guys fly under the radar, especially when he had to sit out the entire year. He can't get that to fall, and he can.
Well, it should be 2 free throws, as everybody was ready to check off. Wasn't an and one.
But as you mentioned, we sometimes forget how young Hook Porty is. There's still a lot of size to put on. There's still athleticism to grow. He's by no means a finished product, and I think sometimes we can look at players, especially bigs, as a finished product early.
I think it's a big testament to the NBL and Melbourne, because he had the choice, obviously, to move on and after his injury and go somewhere else, and he said no, this is the place he wants to be, he needs to be to get to the NBA, the best development. Strong start for him.
And speaking of size, we also mentioned just being here and seeing Chris Smith live as a shooter.
Oh boy.
He's got some size to him.
He hit 7 of 8 threes against the Taipans in the preseason game last week.
As you can see, Melbourne United just being able to put a serious amount of pressure with how much flexibility they have through their defensive lineup at the moment. Travers being able to switch out.
Well, Travers, the full-time power forward spot, he can play 1 through 5 essentially, but he's picking up full court and coming off a Summer League championship. I'm not sure how much he holds to that. I don't know if it's something he goes to bed with a championship ring from Summer League, but in the end, it still gets one.
Scott can't get that one to fall. Huck Porty once again, as you said, Pete, pecs above the rim. As Ili's going to push the pace.
Oh, hello.
We've seen a lot of offensive aggression from Huck Porty.
Well, we have, and again, we spoke about it. He was a little nervous, rightly so, stepping into this game, and not enough off-ball movement from United. Kind of forced to have to shoot that. It's going to be foul. And Luke Travers just holding Josh Bannon. But back to Josh Bannon. He didn't get to touch on him in the preseason. Outstanding college career in Montana. Decided not to go back for his senior season. Joined a 3-year deal with the Bullets. He's a very exciting prospect. And again, that is Justin Schuller. Knows him from the under-17 Australian stuff. Just having that conversation, no doubt, before he went up to the Bullets and manages to get his man. And they're expecting big things from him as a rookie.
And this roster, as Sobey pulls up from the outside, again, just Brisbane a lid on the rim in the early going of this one. But Baines still can't get that to fall. Josh Bannon's going to be a very, very interesting prospect for this team because, again, there was almost a recruiting war for him in the preseason as Shea Ili continues to light it up. Melbourne United up to an early 8-point lead.
He shot 38% from three last year. You talk about guys improving in their game. Just every single year, the offensive aggression. It was about four or 5 years ago when he was playing for New Zealand where he looked scared to shoot the ball and everyone would just go under screens, everyone would back off. Not anymore. He is on the front foot offensively. There's Chris Smith getting on the board, his first points tonight.
Travers looks to work in a one-on-one against Bannon. Gets it up. Good defense from Bannon. And Huck Porty can't get that one to fall again. Just a little bit of preseason nerves. Now, the hard thing for players in this league is you can almost be made and broken in the preseason.
Well, you can. It's hard. That's what you said. You can't read too much into it. And for those Brisbane Bullets fans who are watching last season, Brisbane played Melbourne before the Blitz twice. Once in Ballarat and once down at Casey Stadium with none of their superstars. And they smacked a Melbourne United team that basically was at full strength. We know what happened from that. So you can't really do it too much, but a little bit of movement is not too bad. I like what we've seen in terms of them putting Baines down low. I think they didn't do enough of that last year. He's still got that size, and maybe other than Hook Porty, but you can see Hook Porty's going to sit down Rob Lowe. Injury replacement coming in because Hook Porty is gassed. He has gone, with 4 minutes, he has gone 110 miles per hour, and they'd be very happy with that first start from him.
He certainly spent a fair amount of time above the rim. Now, Aaron Baines, for me, who's just come out of the game now, he's one of the guys, if he can get to his best, and we've got to remember he's coming off a serious spinal cord injury, so it's nothing to look at and think this is something he can just bounce back from. If he can get to his best, he will be a dominant force in this league, and it's part of the reason why the Brisbane Bullets were regarded as a championship threat last year.
No doubt, and again, I think a lot of us have to remember that horrific injury, and just in getting through a whole season, I think was the key, as Sobey teased that up, no good. And there's Josh Bannon again, the energy, the effort. That's what they want to see. They didn't have that last year, and it looks like Josh Bannon's won that starting gig for the time being. It was going to be between him and DJ Mitchell. Justin Schuller was probably going to go out and let them play for it in practice.
And Rocco Zikarsky into the game. I'm sure the NBA scouts courtside are going to be just looking up from their clipboards for a moment. And you just see the length there from Zikarsky. Scott working his way into trouble, gets it to Bannon. Smith gets that one to fall. Now, Smith is a guy who hit 7 threes in one of the games of the preseason. Yeah, an outside threat. We saw him get to the rim earlier, use that strength. He's a lot bigger than what we previously thought.
He is. He's a bull. You'd expect him with that frame and to get downhill, but he's got a beautiful shooting form. And yeah, 7 of 8. Played in France, Belgium, Hungary, Poland, Japan. Just played the Chiba Jets as well with Vic Law. So I'm sure he spoke to Vic Law about what the Bullets in the NBL was like.
Averaged 17 points for the Chiba Jets, which for comparison was around similar to what Vic Law averaged for the same team. As Josh Bannon, who's getting a bulk of the offensive looks early on, to Zikarsky, gets that one to fall. Maybe not the most convincing of first shots in the NBL, but you know what?
I'm going to say he called it. Good touch.
You've got to take it, but you just look at the length right now of him, and he is a raw product. We've got to remember this guy isn't eligible for the NBA draft until 2025. He is incredibly young, and sometimes we can forget that. As soon as a guy's in the NBL, they're automatically up for criticism and all that sort of stuff. And I'm not saying that he won't be up for criticism, but we do need to remember, at size like that and the age that he is going to be raw.
And I think that's what Justin Schuller has been on the front foot about talking to the media, is you have to remember that he is a 2-year prospect, and that's what the Next Stars program is. You sign as a 2-year prospect, but most of them, if not all of them, leave after 1 year and go and get drafted, but he is actually not eligible, so he's going to be around for 2 years. And just to learn from Aaron Baines about what it means to be a professional, do all of that. He's in a perfect situation, and we talked about Josh Bannon having that previous history with Justin Schuller. Rocco Zikarsky, another one in that under-17 Australian program. So he knows Justin Schuller, which means he knows exactly how to unlock him. And it's going to be, I think it's going to be a slow process over the year. If Harrison is injured, he's going to get more minutes. What happens after that, we'll see. But he is a very, very exciting prospect for the future. And I thought it was a bit rough. I'm sure you saw the social media where they said Australia's next big thing. It's got Bogut, it's got Luke Longley. Let's relax on the young fella.
But you know what? It's the theatre of sport, Peter Hooley, and we absolutely love it, especially when we're not the ones in the spotlight. But you know what? He seems, from all reports, he's got a fantastic head on his shoulders, and this isn't going to be a guy that's going to be swept away with the hype and all of that.
Well, I mean, it's kind of unheard of for him to be even joining the NBL and the Next Stars program at his age. Everyone thought maybe do another year, maybe think about going to college or what he would do then. So again, it's a fantastic testament to the next stars and the NBL as a whole, because he says this is where I need to be to make the NBA, and he's in the perfect spot.
And Flynn Cameron just subbed into the game, coming off a World Cup effort with New Zealand, and of course Dellavedova, who's looking to take a bigger leadership role and is going to relish the minutes here, coming off playing sparingly for the Sacramento Kings.
Well, this is not, if you're a backcourt, an opposition backcourt, and you see Delly and Flynn Cameron check in, now you know what Delly's going to do. He's going to get up and in, and again, he's going to have a chip on his shoulder. You talk about guys putting their hand up or staying in consideration for Paris. Delly's made that clear. Delly said he's going to continue to work and have a big season. But Flynn Cameron is one to watch. He's going to get up and in. Defensively, he is a bull, and there's Delly.
Tell you what, if Dellavedova wants to be on that team to Paris, he's going to have to be doing an awful lot of that. And you know, that's one of the areas of his game when he comes here from Sacramento that he's going to be able to relish, because you know that's not his role at the Kings. I think we all know that. But to be able to come in here and actually play basketball.
Well, he shot 36% from three last time he was in the NBL for MU, as there's Shannon Scott. Good time. Nice patience there, and again, that's set up from Zakarski's rolling. We know they've had a little connection in the preseason, throwing lobs. And you can throw it anywhere. Rocco Zakarski's going to go get it.
Well, that's what I'm excited to see. I want to see him on the offensive end and see how they incorporate him into the offense as he cleans that one upstairs.
Just took it out of the air.
They're going to whistle the foul beforehand, but it's that sort of stuff. When he's able to control his body on a regular basis in that sort of movement, you know, this is a league where there's no NBA defensive 3 seconds. You put a guy that size in the paint, it's going to cause nightmares.
Yeah, that's something they're going to love to do, is just sit him off and let him just alter shots. Not necessarily block shots, as Delly takes up. Oh, my
Delly, 2 for 2 from the outside, and I'll tell you what, Matthew Dellavedova is back in the NBL.
Heavily contested with Mitch Norton right in his grill. 12 seconds left on the shot clock.
Dean Vick going to be licking his lips.
I thought that was 100% a shot clock heave, and then he had plenty of time. That's just Delly feeling
Norton,
good.
of course, the product from the Perth Wildcats. Can't get that one to go. Bit of side of the backboard action for Mitch Norton. Of course, had his final year of that Perth Wildcats contract deactivated. But he was coerced into coming over to the Brisbane Bullets. Of course, he was Greg Vanderjagt's roommate back in the Townsville Croc days.
That's the throwback. He's back home as well in Queensland, and I must say it is weird to see Mitch Norton running around in anything but red.
Well, he was brought in to replace Damian Martin, of course, to fill that gap. But didn't exactly work out that way, and he's found a new home with the Bullets.
Even that there, you can see Zakarski's length, and that's exactly what he's there for. Alters that shot, and that's going to be an offensive foul and Rob Lowe.
If you want a picture of just how athletic and long Zakarski is, Rob Lowe just beat him for the offensive rebound with a foul. And Zakarski still managed to get back and block the shot, even though it was after the foul.
Talk about the length, the wingspan of Zakarski. I saw him tying his shoes without bending over before the game. It was incredibly impressive.
Now, Rob Lowe, an amazing signing, timing-wise, for Melbourne United. Of course, announces his retirement from New Zealand.
It's something Melbourne United are good at, retiring and then coming back out. There's DJ Mitchell, instant impact. But speaking of Rob Lowe, you talk about a perfect situation for Melbourne United with an injury replacement for JLA. He retired to spend more time with his family, and they went to him and said, Dean Vickman has that past history with him, and said, we need you for a short amount of time. It's not a full season. You can bring your family. And he said, all right, that sounds good to me. Stays in shape, comes in and provides a nice spark for him.
I thought you were going to say his family came to him and said, we need you to move continents and move countries and get over there to Melbourne.
So we put him nicely down there, Hoop City.
DJ Mitchell, of course, averaged 9 points, 4 rebounds last season. Interestingly, when he was getting his basketball career started, he holds an Irish passport. So he was ready to play in the Irish Super League before taking an offer in the Netherlands, which I'm no expert on Irish basketball, but I would imagine was probably the right career move.
Well, as someone who holds an English passport and played in the English Professional League, I can say that it didn't do a whole lot for me. So I think he's made the right decision now, but showed flashes last season of how good he can be. He had a really good NBL 1 as well, and that's going to be a foul on Isaac White, who wanted the initial foul on Rob Lowe for the little veteran. The glute screen, a little turn into on the handoff as Baines comes back in for Zakarski.
Yeah, Tanner Krebs is the interesting one for me.
Was he in your early predictions?
He's in my early predictions for most improved.
Interesting.
Yeah, I think he's going to he's averaging 17.5 in the preseason. Now, we can't read too much into the preseason.
We also can't read too much into your early predictions, because you did have Rocco to be next drafted and he's not eligible. So we can't read a whole lot into him.
As Daly just looks to find Rob Lowe up top of the basket, maybe just confusing him with Hook Porty there for a moment. Brisbane Bullets with the 1 point lead. And you can see both teams just feeling each other out, feeling themselves out at the moment. White gets deep into the paint, as they have all game, and Baines can't get that to fall, but Isaac White's going to find the rebound and put that one back in.
Isaac White, that type of player, that energy, that's what they missed last year. A guy's going to come in, he's going to work hard, just is obsessed with the game of basketball. As Delhi, 3 for 3.
Looks to go 3 for 3, can't get that one to fall, but the aggression as Rob Lowe looks to take it on Aaron Bones, who says no thank you twice. And Isaac White, the man that you said is going to light it up, and does just that. A 4-point play.
Well,
I want you to speak on Isaac White for a moment, because a guy who he's come out in his limited minutes in his time in the NBL has come out. He's a Stanford product, so he's got a very, very good head on his shoulders. But he's come out and he's had big scoring efforts in small amounts of time, and you reckon that he's going to be able to get the opportunity this year?
Head on his shoulders is correct. Hair on his head is incorrect. We don't know what's going on there. But no, again, never seen a shot he doesn't like. He plays with the confidence when he came in. Like he walked into the league as though he was a Chris Golding type. He's been here, he's done that. And nominated a replacement player, played for the Hawks, and then went down to Tassie. And talking to Tassie last year, they would love to have kept him, but didn't have the spot at the time. And then Brisbane, Justin Schuller said, well, this is a no-brainer.
He's another guy that's played under Justin Schuller, and this roster is riddled with guys that have played under Justin Schuller. You look at everyone lining up in this free throw situation. Bannon, McDaniel, and Isaac White there have all been under the tutelage of Justin Schuller at one point.
Well, last year, in limited minutes, Isaac White averaged 5 points, but shot 48% from 3. So you're talking about a guy who can shoot the lights out and playing with confidence. That is 48% better than you.
A 20-point half as well for Tasmania as Ian Clark gets the mid-range jumper to fall. Now, Ian Clark's the one for me. It's going to be very interesting to see how much he can produce on the offensive end, because this is a guy that averaged around 8 points at a Warriors championship year. I think we sometimes forget how good Ian Clark was in his time in the NBA.
And that's why I'm a bit interested to see if he does stay in this starting spot. You got to assume once Jay Lee comes back, Malala Chul is going to be that big figure. He's going to be an offensive threat. He was one of, if not the best big man in the competition before he left to go and play overseas. So he's going to be a focal point. Chris Golding coming off an outstanding NBL 23 and doesn't look like slowing down. So do you keep Ian Clark coming off the bench, as letting him just unlock, still play starters minutes? There is a lot of chess pieces for Dean Vickman to work on. This is an extremely deep team. Shea Ely, Flynn Cameron, the way that Delhi's come out and started this one offensively, there's a lot of moving pieces.
Well, Dave Barlow came out in the media and said that they have a team full of starters. On any given night, anyone can start. And you know what? That can be troublesome for a coach having to deal with guys like that, because you've only got so many minutes to give around. You've only got so many points to spread around this team. But, you know, I would go ahead and say that it doesn't seem like there's that many attitude issues with this group that's going to affect.
No, spot on. And I just got word that Delhi is coming off a little bit of a hamstring. So that is why he's coming off the bench right now, because I think you can assume Delhi and Shea, they played well in the backcourt together, and then you bring Ian Clark as a sixth man of the year candidate as Tanner Krebs tees one up from the corner. That's no good, and I think that's where Ian Clark will flourish. He's coming off the bench, letting it fly, just being that bucket getter.
7-point lead for the Brisbane Bullets. A minute to go in this first term. As Norton finds Isaac White, who continues to be aggressive going towards the rim. Pivots around. Luke Travers beats him with size.
Just that length from Luke Travers.
Well, Luke Travers is as useful on the defensive end as he is on the offensive end.
Now, I know that you are locked into Supercoach. There's a lot of people locked into NBL Supercoach. You saw the social media post that came out as the most owned players. Luke Travers and Bryce Cotton up there in the top two. If you do not have Luke Travers in your Supercoach team for the price and what he can do with points-wise to fill it up, I don't know what you're thinking.
I am questioning what people are thinking, because we are both good friends with Majuk. But the fact that he is owned by 29% of people, I think that is very ambitious.
Well, it is, considering
at this stage of the year.
What his role will be, and all reports is Will Magnay is looking better than what he's initially forecasted to miss a chunk of time, and Marcus Lee there as well. I did see that. I forgot all about that.
There's a very interesting one at the bottom. There are a few people picked up on it, but the thing with Supercoach, of course, that there is going to be a huge amount of guys, especially some of these guys that have come in around that $69,000 price range, like Josh Bannon, that you're going to be able to get some serious value out of.
If you're a Supercoach fan and do not have Josh Bannon, what are you doing? He's going to be starting. He's going to have a huge opportunity here.
And you look at just the youth throughout this. Look, they're heavy on the leadership end. You know, in terms of Baines, Mitch Norton, but the youth is going to play a huge part in this team this year. If Baines gets that one to fall, and Mitch Norton fires it back. McDaniel And your man,
Cash
Isaac
me.
White from the corner, you
Cash
can cash
me.
that one out. Isaac White announcing himself in the early going of the NBL Blitz that he is here to play this year for Brisbane.
He is a most improved player candidate as Ian Clark just answers straight back. Thought Melbourne United might want to take the last shot. Not to be.
Dean Vickerman certainly won't be happy with the defensive effort from Melbourne United in the early going here as McDaniel looks to close out the quarter. Can't get that one to fall, but a good offensive quarter there from the Brisbane Bullets. They lead Melbourne United 30-21.
Well, have a look at some of the stats. You mentioned Isaac White, 11 points in 4.5 minutes.
You know why there's such a grin on your face,
'Cause I
Peter
called
Hawley?
it. I
Because
called
you
it.
called it at the start.
He is a microwave. Love the way he goes about it. Again, he's finally got the opportunity to be part of this. And if you're Justin Schuller, it was already going to be hard to leave him out of the rotation and not give him significant minutes. He comes in, he's going to play hard every single time he's on the floor to shoot the lights out. 11 points for him, 7 points for Ian Clark in 7 minutes. Shea Ili's got the 4 points, Hook Porty as well. Rebounding leaders, Josh Bannon has 4. One thing that Dean Vickerman was very vocal about with the signing of Luke Travers was unlocking him on the offensive end. We didn't see a whole lot of that. He had a couple of post-ups. The question is how do you do that in the certain lineups? I think he's going to find his own. He gets the rebound, he gets out and runs and does his whole thing. So looking forward to seeing how that works. But
Well, one of the hardest parts about having a player of Luke Travers' ability is if you want to totally maximise his strengths, you have to have your whole game style revolve around that type of player. Now, unfortunately, you can't afford to do that with the amount of talent that United has, but we've seen Luke Travers have some massive games while still fitting into this United flow of the game.
no, exactly right. He's going to be fine. I think he's going to have a breakout season. Looking forward to seeing what he can do. But what a strong start for the Bullets. They're going to be very happy with that offensively.
I'm sure Justin Schuller's a very, very happy man. Well, we're very happy right now because we're lucky enough to have JLA join us. Joe Luala-Chul, of course, coming off a wrist injury. He's going to be missing the first portion of the NBL season. But I'll tell you what, we may be happy that you are back in the league, but there is a handful of teams that will be contesting for a championship this year that are very, very disappointed to see you back in Melbourne United colours.
Yeah, sucks for them.
How are you feeling, though, obviously, with the injury? And then Dino came out, Melbourne United came out and said that you are ahead of schedule. Obviously, there's no hiding that, but how is the wrist feeling? It would have been tough to get that news at the time, I'm sure.
Yeah, Dino came out hot, huh? I feel good, man. I've been able to put on some weight, hitting some good numbers in the weight room. I'm back just to doing everything basketball-wise. I'm shooting, I'm dribbling, I'm doing pretty much everything. It's just a couple more things that I need to tick off before I'm fully cleared to practice and do full contact.
We did speak about it in the pre-game that we're stoked to have you back in the league. And one of, if not the best big man in the competition. But what was the key reason for coming back? Obviously, the team Melbourne United put together, everyone is expected to contend for a title. But why the decision right now to be back in the NBL?
As a basketball player, you always want to play at the highest level and have the opportunity to play in the highest level. And the NBL has become a great pathway for guys to be able to get signed, whether it's through Summer League or see guys like Cooks that get signed right away, just through playing well. So it's always been a goal of mine to play in the NBA. So coming back here, it's kind of a goal, but have to win a championship first before any of that happens. So.
What have been your thoughts, of course, for this Melbourne United roster? Dave Barlow came out and said it's a team full of starters, which, as we can see from some of the performances at the moment, the way the guys are moving around, everyone here has the ability to start on any given night.
Yeah, 100%. The talent's there, but we all know everybody has to be able to, sacrifice a little bit for the betterment of the team. So, once we get our roles figured out and we play together as a team and we sacrifice, I think we'll be a tough team to beat.
Give us a little bit of an insight into Big A. Hook Porty as Rocco Zakarski comes up limping a little bit there. Hopefully that's just a bit of a stinger. Baines are going to sub him out. The next star, we're talking, could be all over that. But Hook
Definitely
Porty,
get Alice Kernack to go down there and just find out what's happening there with the big man.
hopefully that is just a stinger. But Hook Porty, you know him well. And firstly, what kind of personality does he bring? Because he seems very subdued, but we know that he's a character. Is he one of those guys that's hard to shut up? What is he like as a person rather than just a basketball player?
Hey, he's one of the funniest guys you'll ever meet. He's just always full of energy at all times, and you just never really know what you're going to get from him. But yeah, he's a great guy to be around, great guy to have around. He always brings energy. He's always laughing, and yeah, he's just like a big kid, big teddy bear.
Do you have much conversation with him back and forth last year? Obviously, it was this time last year where he went down with the injury, but he looks like he's put on a little bit of size from all reports that he's jumping through the roof at practice. So how have you seen him bounce back, and how was he throughout that whole process?
Yeah, man, he's a genetic freak. The way he jumps, his numbers that he's doing in the weight room, it's just like,
Is it true that he's coming out jumping higher than he was?
He actually is.
Pre-injury?
He actually is, which is crazy.
So maybe that's what we went wrong. Maybe we should have.
With Jack White, another one coming off an Achilles.
Yeah, he's looking as athletic as ever.
Yeah, you guys need to hit up Steve-O for that one.
You obviously know Luke Travis well, playing over in Perth, and comes, as Red Army would call it, comes over to the dark side. But what are you excited about eventually slotting in alongside a talent like Luke Travis?
Just seeing how well he complements everybody. He does a bit of everything, and he just kind of fits in seamlessly. Everything is just so effortless. So yeah, I'm looking forward to playing with him, and yeah, he's a great pickup for us.
But we'll just quickly cross down to Alice Kunek to get a bit of an update on Rocco Zikarsky, who looked to just, was it an ankle, Alice?
Yeah, I think it was an ankle. They're just retaping it now. He looks like he was in a bit of pain, but it seems to calm down. The physio's just retaping it. Hopefully we'll see him back out there soon.
Nice. Well, at least it's we saw. You know, we've been talking about Achilles and stuff like that, and anytime anyone looks to turn an ankle or do anything like that, you immediately think disaster there. But luckily for Rocco Zikarsky and the Brisbane Bullets and the NBL as a whole, he appears to be just fine with just a minor rolled ankle.
And Jay, I've got to talk to you while you're here, because it was unfortunate the timing of your injury not to be part of the World Cup in South Sudan, but sitting back watching it, obviously the pride that you would have had, what emotions were you going through just to see that history? And I mean, we're planning to see you in Paris now.
Yeah, it was one of those things. I was like it was awesome. Like, obviously seeing the country and the response of that, but selfishly, just as a competitor and a basketball player, just sitting out and watching it, it hurt a lot. So I was really happy for the boys, but a part of me was going through it.
You're trying to tell us you were wishing for their demise because you weren't in the team. That's
well, no, yeah. That's exactly what I said.
You are going to get the chance, obviously, with Paris, and all going well. They've qualified for the Olympics, which is just an outstanding. We talk about the history of getting the first World Cup win, and just getting there in the first part, you had a big part to do with that. And we've got to remember, they weren't all at full strength. You weren't there. Bull Quoll was hurt as well. When this team gets to full strength, we talk about the Boomers had some tough choices to make. There's going to be some tough choices with all the talent.
Yeah, I mean, the talent's there, and those guys do such a good job. Lou and Royale, those are great guys, and Coach Joe over there, they got a nice little system going. So looking forward to being a part of that.
And lastly, just a little bit about what it meant for the community, though, because you've been very outspoken about being a role model in the community here in Australia. To see that and to see where it's just the beginning of this next journey for the country on that national level. Apparently all reports of what they did when they flew home.
Yeah.
What does it mean here locally?
Yeah, I feel like it's just like a great kind of indicator for a lot of the kids, just showing them like the sky's the limit. You can achieve anything really if you just put your mind to it. And as far as the team goes as well, the sky's the limit for us. There's going to be a lot of talented guys coming through. Yeah, hopefully we're a power in world basketball here in the next decade or so.
I think for sure. I mean,
it's an exciting time. You just spoke about having players out. The roster had 3 or 4 NBL 1 guys on it, which of course isn't the National League, it's the league below. So Shannon Scott gets the AN1, just manages to just stem the bleeding a little bit as Melbourne United creep back into this game. But those level of guys, if they can replace them with NBL stars and international stars, then you're looking at a really, really dangerous team. And they are playing with a whole lot of pride.
Yeah, 100%.
Now, before we let you get back to sitting over there and watching, tell us a little bit about how Dean Vickman has approached this preseason, because your injury was a disruption, obviously. CG was away. They had Flynn Cameron, Shaylee was away. It's been a disrupted preseason for Melbourne United. How do you deal with that when you're trying to get a bunch of new guys on the same page? You talk about role clarity, and we've seen in the past talented teams how important that is. Is it just tough? Is it just the way you've got to figure it out? Is that what the Blitz is for, obviously?
Yeah, 100%. And a lot of it is just us focusing on ourselves and really establishing our identity as a team. First and foremost on defense, just being super physical and blowing stuff up. And just going from there. I think offensively it will be a little work in progress, but we should be ready to roll by the time the season comes around for sure.
Are you a TikTok man?
No, I'm not.
So I did happen to see, I just downloaded it the first time. It's all Cordy. Throws down, just throw it anywhere.
Tell you what, they weren't lying.
Has he put a couple of people in some bad places in practice?
If I say I'm in trouble,
A couple of people have been baptised?
man.
Well, seeing as he's just gotten above the rim 3 times, I can imagine it's been some pretty nasty work.
What's it like then going against him in practice? Because are you smart in knowing, like, you're obviously going to get up and meet everybody at the rim during a game, and in practice you just say, Big A, just take that, big fella, just step out the way.
Now I'm pretty used to getting punched on, bro. So I just take one for the team. It is what it is.
JLA, we appreciate your time, man. We can't wait to see you back on the floor. Hopefully it's sooner rather than later, but we appreciate you giving us a few moments and a bit of an insight. And we're stoked to have you back, but I'm sure your family's stoked to have you back, right?
Yeah, for sure, man. Get to spend some time with the kids every single day. My daughter gets nervous every time I leave the house now. She thinks I'm going to China, but no, it's
I
good.
can't say I've suffered from the same thing. It's a pretty unique experience there.
Yeah, no, but it's good. It's definitely been good being around the kids and doing school drop-offs and stuff like that. Just being a dad, it's been just a good change of pace for me.
Well, I mentioned the TikTok because there was one of all your reactions for some posters and then in the throwdowns. We can't wait to see it. I told you I wasn't going to bait you, but you got a message for everybody out there that now you're back in the league? You got anything to say? Or are you just going to wait for a little bit until you're back?
I'm not really a man of many words, man. I just pull up and hoop and just see how it goes.
Just pulls up and hoops and his MVP conversations, wins titles. Brother, we appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Thank you guys so
Good
much.
luck for the rest of the season.
Yep.
Xander Clark just looks to have copped one behind play there. The Melbourne United bench is up and about, and Rob Lowe looking to go 2 for 2 in succession. Can't get that one to fall.
Kyle Bowen checking into the game. St. Mary's product. You talk about how deep and this roster is. Brad Newley playing a bit of the backup power forward. Has been playing it down at Frankston. He's kind of reinvented himself. That should be a backcourt violation, and there it eventually is called. Hey, still pre-season for the referees.
Well, that's
as well.
the thing we've got to remember. And, of course, speaking of the referees, Jackie Dover back in Australia after spending some time in the States at the NBA Referee Academy.
Managed to catch up with her over in Summer League, and just one of the best referees I think we have, and the aspirations that she has, it's very exciting. Ian Clark checking out. Ian Clark having a few words to say, checking out in the blitz. That's what we like to see.
We did get a little cheap one, or at least a perceived cheap one behind play there, but fantastic news for the NBL and the Brisbane Bullets. Rocco Zikarsky shoving back into the game after a little ankle scare.
Tell you what, we appreciate Big JLA giving us some time. Appreciate Dean Bickman allowing. Dean doesn't normally allow that, it's just a little access, but it's just great to see him back in the league. And he said it best, and we talk about it, we can hype up the league as much as we want, but when you've got a player of his caliber as Delhi gets downhill.
Delhi can't get that one to finish, but just a quick, he's quick off the step, he's shooting well, he's looking very, very good.
But JLA says he's coming back because he wants to make the NBA, and this is the best spot for him. It says a lot about where this league is at, and that's going to be an offensive foul. Defensive foul. Rob Lowe just checking Nathan Sobey. And in comes the human microwave.
Isaac White, well, I'll tell you what, you've talked him up quite a bit, that if he finishes this game anything below 26, I'm going to be awfully disappointed.
He had 11 points in 4 minutes, so.
But he had that 20-point half.
Math wasn't either of our strong suit.
He had that 20-point half for the Jack Jumpers. He certainly can produce it, but that's this roster, and I've said it's riddled with players that have been coached by Justin Schuller before, but it's got a lot of guys that, as you say, a microwave, can just get out there and produce in limited minutes.
It's got all those guys who are just looking for that next path, or next journey, step in their journey, and Nordo's one of those. Can't get that to go.
Great defense from Dellavedova.
Isaac White, Sam McDaniel as well. Obviously knows this Melbourne United roster pretty well. Before going down to Tasmania.
Delhi proving why sometimes it's a disservice that we talk about how hard Delhi works, because it undersells his basketball IQ and everything that makes him great. He's not just a guy that, you know, he's a hard-nosed defender defending full court and that's why he gets court time. He is an incredibly, incredibly intelligent player, and we can see it every time he gets into an on-ball situation.
Well, he's always been that type of competitor. Gets up and in, and you watch the way he plays, and I mean, won an NBA championship based on starring in your role, just doing that. Just being that guy who's going to go out and play 150%, get up and in, not afraid of the moment. And what he doesn't need is extra motivation or extra chips on his shoulder. And now he has that because he's putting his best foot forward. He wants to be part of that Paris team. He said, yep, I didn't make the World Cup, but there's no reason why in 9 months that I can't put my hand up for selection after a strong NBL 24.
Well, he's certainly going to look to Be making that team to Paris, but speaking of destinations, remember the Gold Coast is the only destination where I reckon you can watch world-class basketball, you can hike through an ancient rainforest, sip cocktails by a luxurious pool, squeal on a roller coaster if you don't mind, and just discover diverse wildlife, savour the finest of dining, all in the same day. It's Australia's playground where this one's happening.
Can confidently say did one of those things at Top Golf last night with a few of the people around.
And Daly just putting some serious heat on the rim as he kicks it out to Rob Lowe, gets that one to fall, 2 for 3.
That's where Rob Lowe, you talk about a great pickup, great injury replacement. JLA can hit the 3, but Rob Lowe, that's what he does best.
Rob Lowe, of
Pick
course,
and pop.
winning the MVP of the NZNBL, the Defensive Player of the Year, fresh off retirement, so it's fantastic to see him back in the league, even if it is just for the one more year, as Mitch Norton gets that one to fall from the corner.
It's going to be a very short stint, I'm sure, for Rob Lowe, but this is what he wanted to do, and I think it's going to be a real key for this Melbourne United team getting off to a strong start without Joe Luala-Chul.
Flynn Cameron getting deep in the paint, just too big for Isaac White. The referees are going to call that one on the floor.
Well, that's going to be waved off. That's what Flynn Cameron...
Certainly, as we said, it is pre-season, but it's certainly an interesting call. Looked like it was in the motion of shooting, Pete.
Sure did. Not downhill, but another one who just plays... 110 miles per hour, gets up and in, an exciting talent. Obviously has exceptional pedigree. Does Flynn Cameron. Just watch the replay here, and you can see actually it was a great call. Just a hand over the shoulder from Isaac White before the spin.
Yep, the son of Kiwi legend Pero Cameron.
We'll talk about a lot of movement in the off-season for both of these teams, Brisbane and Melbourne United. Jacob Chance coming across as part of the coaching staff.
Done some work with the Boomers as well, Jacob Chance. It's always good to see a young guy like that get those opportunities, because sometimes you do have to spend quite a lot of time through the coaching ranks, much more so than a player, to be getting those national team ranks. But the earlier you can get these guys in and mould them around a coach at the level of Brian Gorge and at the level of Dean Vickerman,
Outstanding career.
the better off the league will be for it.
Speaking of coaches during the Blitz, what do we think on shorts versus pants combo? Dean Vickerman's rocking the shorts. Scott Roth rocks the shorts.
You know what? If I had calves like Dean Vickerman, I'd be rocking shorts every single day of the week.
Heard that.
Isaac White can't get that one to fall. Rob Lowe will pull it away. And United, interestingly, looking to operate the first 12 seconds of the shot clock.
I think they've got enough weapons to do that. And again, that's going to be the chess piece that Dean Vickerman has to work around. What minutes does everybody look at? Everybody can play, as Dave Barlow said, they've got starters galore. How do you find that happy medium?
United with a 1-point lead, a little under 4 minutes to play in this second term, as Isaac White just too easily into the rim, turns that one over. And Tanner Krebs is off.
And that's the next evolution of Isaac White's game is, okay, you came out, had 11 points in the first quarter. In 4 minutes, you come back in, you missed your next shot. Maybe you try and slow down, but he doesn't know any other way. This is the way that he plays. He likes to play at that level, and if you're Justin Schuller, who knows him well, that's maybe where you say, this is where I need you to continue to learn, to continue to evolve, and I'll trust that you will pick your opportunities, because if you do to try and clamp it up a little bit, does he go into his shell and become a player that you didn't recruit him for? That's that fine balance for Justin Schuller to work with Isaac White.
Well, you're always going to come in with a little bit more confidence when you know that the coach has not only coached you before, but has that confidence in you. Because if you've coached a player before and you bring them back into a new team, you're doing that for a reason, because you believe in what they can do.
Can confirm with Justin Schuller at Kilsyth for us in.
That's probably why I wasn't offered the third-year contract. Daly looks to continue his hot streak from the outside. Can't get that one to fall. And Isaac White will push it. And Baines works down low. Just not being able to get those easy looks as Isaac White from the corner. Can't get that one to fall as well. Krebs will pull it away.
I'll put the moles on him.
Now, Aaron Baines, of course, it's early in the year. You're still going to look to get that touch, but we saw a couple of the issues where that touch didn't necessarily come last year. At what points are going to come this year?
Well, that's what we expected last year for sure. It was, I think, the biggest thing on his checklist, coming back to the NBL off all that rehab, getting back to playing basketball, is just to get through a season. Get all the games, get the minutes under you, and then bring the touch into this year. And obviously we know he can step out and shoot the three. I think he might still hold the record for centers from the three ball over in the NBA, but it is that touch around the rim. If they're going to put
Norton
it down
picks
low.
that one off. I can't say that it'll be going upstairs, and I'm proved right.
That is a very Damian Martinez play-up.
That's going to be a timeout to the Brisbane Bullets.
Know your role. Hit the steal, slap the backboard, get the 2 points.
Scores locked to 40 apiece. Of course, we'll chat a little bit more at halftime about where we see these two teams right now, but right as of this moment, give me a grade on both the Brisbane Bullets and the Melbourne United.
I mean, Brisbane Bullets, the way they started, I mean, an exceptional offensive first quarter, but they've really just struggled in this second quarter, struggled to put points on the board. Just 10 points. Melbourne United have flicked the switch. And
well, we saw that all last year with Melbourne, that they were able to flick the switch. It was just about getting those consistent scores. Now, of course, pre-season, we're going to expect these ebbs and flows of a game. We're dealing with new rotations that we potentially won't see during the regular season because, you know, a lot of these teams have only had maybe 2, maximum 3 tune-up games heading into this blitz.
And it's hard because you don't want to show all your cards, so you don't want to play too many possessions of certain offense. You want to keep some things close to your chest, but you do want to get, I think the main thing, especially the early days of the blitz, is you want to get as many different looking teams out there. What 5 can I get out there?
Kel Bruton just rolling around here, owns the joint. Owns the venue.
What different positions, what lineups can I put out there, what works well in different situations? I think that's what the blitz is ideal for, is who works well together against another team, because these teams even play against each other in practice is one thing, but where's the best team to close the last 4 minutes of the second quarter? What roster want to put out there? Maybe we do that this game, then in the second game we switch it up, and then we look at it all when we review the blitz as a whole.
Of course, Sobey back into the game now. He's going to be the leader, as he always is. Elevated to captain status this year.
And I like that. I think that speaks a lot to how far he's come in terms of being a leader. You look back at Nathan Sobey early years, and we know he's a player that wears his heart on his sleeve. He's very emotional, the way he responds, and he really grew in that aspect, which led to him being, before he was injured, we know he went away, won a bronze medal. He was a top 3 MVP. That was the way that he played at the level he played. So for him to be healthy to get back to it as he chases Chris Golding off that, got a little piece of it, and they have a little smile to each other going down the court. Bronze medal teammates.
Well, it's interesting. It's going to be 2 guys that will be fighting for potentially that position.
Throw it up.
As Ian Clark just doesn't reward Hukporti in transition. And Chris Golding still looking to get on the scoreboard. Does he get it there? No, he's going to get whistled for the offensive foul.
Doesn't like it, but that's what you like to see a little bit. Not sure if we've got the coach's challenges here in the blitz.
Chris Golding, one of the better personalities in the league there. He's definitely making the official know that pre-season or not. It's Chris Smith, looks to work.
Oh, hello.
That's where his best strength is from outside. Unfortunately, that was a little too strong.
Trying to give Chris Golding a bit of a taste of his own medicine.
But it's interesting to see how guys are going to find their shots in the offense, because these are 2 talented teams top to bottom.
That's the beauty of the blitz. If you're a basketball head, you're an NBL fan, no reason not to get along to the blitz, because you're going to see every team in action. You're going to see every player. There is a couple of injuries, obviously, that's going to keep some players out, which is always a part of sport.
Well, as it always is in blitz games, some of the most interesting basketball comes in the second half, because that's where you get to see maybe a guy like Flynn Cameron be able to break out and see a little bit more time and a bit more offensive role with some of the starters on the bench.
We're seeing a guy like Shea Ely come back in off the World Cup. We spoke about what South Sudan did and some other guys at the World Cup. Shea Ely was enormous for the Tall Blacks.
When you talk about FIBA Paddy.
No, don't get started on FIBA Ruben Tarangi.
FIBA Ruben Tarangi, FIBA Shea. Some of these guys, when they pull on that New Zealand jersey, they take it to another level. Of course, the 7 points tonight. He's hoping to bring some of that form. And it was so disappointing last year with the concussion drama and all of that sort of stuff. And you've got to put yourself first in those scenarios. And it was so tough for both Shea and for Melbourne United, because, look, they were 10-3 when he was on the court for that unit. And when he's not there, it was incredibly noticeable.
Well, he's one of those players that, unless your team's playing against him, you'd love to have him on your team. He's a fan favourite because of the way he plays, and especially now that his offensive game has improved so much.
2-point lead for Melbourne United. A minute and a half to go in this first half. Make that a 1-point lead for Brisbane as Chris Smith does what he does best and knocks one down from outside.
Beautiful form, beautiful technique, and that was good ball movement, good player movement from the Bullets. That's one of those possessions where Justin Chula will clip up and say, this is how we want to play. Extra pass, extra opportunity, and then Chris Smith, that's what he's brought in to do. Lock and load, let it fly. Second 3-ball of the night.
Well, the good thing about having players like Zakarski, Tyrell Harrison, Aaron Baines, if you are going to be 3-point heavy from the outside, which by the makeup of this team, it looks like they will be, and just the way that Justin Schuller has coached in the past, you want guys that are going to be able to fight for those rebounds down low.
There's Josh Bannon, that's what he can do. Got a great touch, and to get that responsibility fresh out of college, starting power forward in the NBL, going to continue to grow. He's still incredibly young.
Melbourne United just playing that heavy on-ball game and getting deep into the paint every time. You can see that when you've got such weapons on the outside, the full court pass to Chris Smith, the quarterback. And that one's going to be going right back. Luke Travers with 2 turnovers.
Josh Bannon just cleaning the glass right now. 6 rebounds, go along with 6 points. Right now, your leaders are Chris Smith with 12 points, Isaac White still sitting on 11, and Hook Porty, Shea Illy, 8 points apiece for Melbourne United.
Nathan Sobey just reaching at his hip a little bit.
Caught the chicken wing from Shea Illy, wanted an offensive foul down the other end.
Can't imagine there'd be too much to worry about there.
And then just gives a
Chris
little bit.
Smith just gets a little handsy on the way through.
I think that foul's going to be on Nathan Sobey with a little bit of a check ball screen, off-ball screen for Chris Golding after they had a little bit of a chat before. Isaac White coming back in for Sobey, who's a little ginger as he's heading to the bench. Unhappy with something as well. Just the 2 points, 3 rebounds so far. There are certain few players that you look around and you watch all week at the Blitz who don't get out of second gear. There's a couple that don't get out of first gear.
Which is always interesting because it's, and maybe players don't care what anyone says about them and that sort of stuff. As Shea Illy can't get one to fall from outside, Isaac White will clean up the board. But you want to start off on a good note. And, you know, whether you stay in, like obviously we could see here Chris definitely playing in second, even third gear at the moment. Maybe it's just me, but I'd always like to start off on a.
Well, he's the one that we talk about being able to flick a switch. We know he can do that when the lights are brightest.
Isaac White right in the paint. Can't get that one to finish with the tower in there of Luke Travers. A big block to finish out the half there from Aaron Baines. An ambitious attempt from Shea Illy.
Bit of contact being let play right now.
That's a
both teams.
5-point lead to the Brisbane Bullets at the half. Pete Hawley. Been impressive showing. There's been impressive moments from both teams, and as we'd expect in the preseason, that both teams have ebbed and flowed between positive and negative play.
I think that's what we're going to see a lot this week is moments. I think every team's going to have their really good moments and then their moments where they look at it and say, that's not how we can play going forward.
We'll have a look at some first half highlights in a moment, but tell you what, Pete, your call on Isaac White could not have been more strong.
It started strong, that's why. It helps to do some prep leading into some games, but Hook Porty running the lane.
You look at the most exciting part of this first half was certainly the athleticism that they missed last year from Hook Porty.
Yeah, 2 players that really stand out. Obviously, Hook Porty's play, but then down the other end, Isaac White coming in, had that 11 points in 4 minutes. Rocco Zakarski had a little bit of an ankle stinger, but he came out, and Delhi looking ultra aggressive on the front foot, as we have reported now. Just getting back off a hamstring injury, and that right there, that showed the confidence that he's playing. But if he's playing at that level, and we talk about what he can do defensively, it's a different conversation to have about Matthew Dellavedova.
Yep, and Isaac White, the man you mentioned there. Now, Aaron Baines, of course, again, we talk about people not getting into second gear, third gear. He's going to be one of the guys that you wouldn't expect to be going too hard in the preseason, but we do want to see some of that output that we've seen from him in the NBA, because you just know how dominant he could be when he's on in this league.
And I think it's as much as being able to hit that pick and pop, but just when he's that low, he should be able to go up and finish that. He's just left a couple short, and it's going to come. It is still the Blitz, it is still the preseason, and Rob Lowe showed great signs of why he was brought in as the nominator replacement player as well. So I think a lot of ticks for both teams, but in the end, 47 points from the Bullets. If you're Melbourne United, you're not going to be happy with that. That's just way too many.
Well, Chris Smith for the Bullets leads all scorers with 12. 11 for Isaac White. Pete Hawley's man, Dellavedova, came out there hitting 2 triples. He's got himself 7 points, getting to the free throw line as well, and Shea Illy with the 8 points. We're going to take a quick break, and more action coming up with the second half from the NBL Blitz from, of course, Australia's favourite playground.
Our game is made for moments. We stop at nothing, on or off the court, here and abroad. Every fan, incredible, every game, you've got to be kidding me, every experience. From game-winning buzzer beaters to posterising dunks. The immeasurable passion and fierce rivalries. Every legacy, every team, and the strive for greatness. No matter the moment, it all matters to us. Hungry Jacks NBL. Every moment matters.
I came for an exhilarating experience. Bit of an exhilarating experience today, you know. Getting to get on the rides and stuff like that. So it was awesome to get out there and, you know, feel like a kid again, I guess. That's a one and done for me. I'm not gonna lie, that took it all the way out of me.
Yeah, I mean, it's a nice place to be. It's obviously got nice beaches and nice weather. Always a good destination to visit.
Don't miss a moment of NBL action. On the court, away from the court, exclusive access, player interviews, free agency moves, next stars, and much more. The NBL's YouTube channel is your one-stop shop for all things NBL 24. And don't forget to hit that subscribe button to find out all the latest news as it happens. Search NBL on YouTube to get watching.
Yep. What's the ad package? What's the ad? Through. Welcome back to the NBL Blitz, the second game of the doubleheader, of course, in Australia's favourite playground, the Gold Coast. And it's the Brisbane Bullets right now, 47-42 Melbourne United. And we've seen, as we said, the ebbs and flows of two teams playing pre-season basketball, but we've seen good things from both teams so far.
Well, we have, and that's what we're going to expect to see. Hot and cold patches, and by the end of it, just fine-tuning them, because the tip-off for the season opener is not far away, and I'm expecting a massive season, one of, if not the best yet.
Well, as you can see, incredible. That was a couple of years ago, I believe, but look, the thing about pre-season is winning and losing is not the be-all and end-all. So the good thing we're going to be able to see towards the end here is hopefully from either team, some of the guys that we may not see a huge amount during the season come out and just try to fight their way onto a roster. Because as we said, there's two ways to play this pre-season game. You've got superstars going in second gear. You've got the young bucks that are fighting for every minute of court time. If you're not in that starting five, you are playing at 110%. If your spot's locked up and you're confident with it, you're probably going to take a little bit of a back seat at times.
Yeah, no doubt. That's what we talked about, some guys not getting out of first gear. We're going to see that a lot, but the Blitz, the wins and losses, you can't read a whole lot into it. We've seen in the past some teams that have won the Blitz. The season doesn't turn out the way that they like. That's just the reality of it, but it all starts for real this coming Thursday, the following Thursday with a throwdown. And
well, I'm going to ask you a question, Peter Hooley. I'm going to remove one player from the answer sheet.
Okay.
Isaac White.
Okay.
You're not allowed to speak on Isaac White on this one, but who has impressed you the most outside of Isaac White on this Bullets team?
Oh, you've thrown me a little bit there. Chris Smith. Chris Smith, 12 points. It's an easy one, but just I love the way he's so balanced on his shooting. It's something that's going to be really helpful for this Bullets squad. They need some outside, some bucket getters, and that's what he's going to deliver.
And a quick one for Melbourne United.
Rob Lowe, to be honest. I mean, Hook Porty, but Rob Lowe's come in and splashed 2 threes. That's why he was brought in as a nominated replacement player. If he can do that, that's all they need.
Rob Lowe is a great actor and, of course, a great basketball player as well. But we're going to throw to a quick break. The second half, Brisbane, Melbourne, coming up next.
LaMelo Ball, Josh Giddey, Usman Jeng. The NBL's Next Stars program has become an elite pathway to the NBA. But who's got next in NBL 24? Hook Porty, Flowers, Johnson, Clintman, Rubstavicius, Saar, Tui, Zakarski. Who will shine brightest? Find out more at nbl.com.au/nextstars.
If you like good weather, good food, good vibes, it's everything all in one.
First shot gotta go in. Camera doesn't know where the ball went. Would they say I'm a good golfer? I'd say I'm better than the average person, but I'm not a good golfer. There's never not anything to do. Like, we got Top Golf here, there's Movie World right across the road, plenty of beaches in the Gold Coast, unlimited restaurants. The Gold Coast is super nice and you can't really complain about anything out here. And there's a heat check right here. Bow! There it goes, right there, side by side.
Welcome back to Australia's favourite playground, the sunny Gold Coast. And you can see just why they call it this. Beautiful weather all week for the NBL Blitz. And the Brisbane Bullets have got an early lead here at halftime, 47-42. I'm, of course, joined by Peter Hooley, who's breaking it all down. He's called that Isaac White was going to have a massive game, and you said he's going to have a breakout year for the Brisbane Bullets. And you know what? Like Nostradamus Hooley you are, he's done just that.
Well, we haven't had any coaches' challenges for me to get wrong yet. That's when you know I'm in mid-season form, because I can't get a coach's challenge right. But yeah, I am expecting a breakout season. It's that new pasture, that new team. Some players just thrive on that opportunity. That's what we're seeing from him. And it's going to be a juggling act all week, but that's the beauty of basketball. You get a lot of games. 2 games tomorrow, 2 games Monday, 3 games Wednesday. It's all happening.
Chris Smith leading all scorers with 12 points for the Bullets. Isaac White, Hooley's man, with 11 there as well. Dellavedova was hot from the three-point line earlier. He knocked out 2 triples. He's sitting here with 7. And, of course, Shea Illy, the man that was so dearly missed last season, 8 points himself. And Hook Porty, who's been playing well and truly above the rim himself. But let's check in with Alice Kunak. What have you seen so far?
Hooley, your man, Isaac White, hasn't been impressive. I know Dean Vickerman wasn't too impressed with how he was able to get into the paint and find his bigs. And also 47 points. I can't imagine Dean Vickerman being too happy with that against his team. But it's been a high-scoring game. I'm really looking to the second half, and I'm looking forward to seeing Zakarski back on the floor again after that ankle injury, see what he can produce.
Yeah, Felix, we have got Alice here doing a spectacular job, but I have heard she's ruffling some feathers on the other side of the court with a couple of teams, with the accreditation just saying, I've got an all-access pass, let me in.
I know Melbourne United weren't too happy with me going too close to the huddle there, but look, I'll make friends with them again, and I'll be back there in the second half.
No, Alice. There's no making friends in this world. You go in there and you get the news that we need.
You sit down on that timeout.
Me and Dean go way back, so you know what? I'll be back there soon.
And we'll check in again with Alice shortly. As we've tipped back off here on the Brisbane Bullets, again attacking the offensive rebounds. They've had success there so far. Josh Bannon.
Just that fundamental style.
Great footwork, but you can just see the nerves. You can see the nerves in the young players. We saw it with Zakarski a couple of times. We've seen it with Josh Bannon. There's a lot of NBA scouts here, and your mind starts racing.
Well,
I would
another
imagine.
one. We talk about all the next stars who put their name in that draft mix, but Josh Bannon has come here just fresh out of college, would have aspirations, no doubt.
Well, Josh Bannon had an NBA workout with the Indiana Pacers, I believe. He had one of the group workouts, so even to get to that stretch, of course, in your third year of college is an effort.
If you are a Bullets fan, you would be just a little disappointed with how many buckets they've left at the rim. Just short bunnies that are coming up with Mrs. Ian Clark. Well, we talk about human microwaves. When he goes back to what is expected to be a six-man role, he is going to be a microwave off the bench for this Melbourne United team. And not that I got my early prediction opportunity this year, but you talk about six-man of the year candidates.
You didn't get brought into the
Ian
early
Clark.
predictions.
Oh, my God. Luke Travers. The audacious. The audacity.
Well, Luke Travers is one of those players where he might not be, you know, a crazy hook-porty style of athlete, but he attacks the rim hard and he at least goes to dunk.
Have a look at this little drop-off pass, and Aaron Baines just stood there, and Luke Travers said, I am mullet no more, but I am athletic still.
Mullet no more? I still reckon there's a little bit of
party in the back.
It's sort of party all the way over, isn't it?
As someone
There's a general party up there.
As someone who's going to be full Max Gorn in 2 years, I am jealous. Probably too early to bring up a Melbourne team, isn't it? No.
I was about to say, there's probably some viewers there that are tuning into their second Melbourne team, hoping that they can get a win as Aaron Baines pulls it down. Two-point lead for the Brisbane Bullets, just getting this second term underway. And Sobey with a beautiful pass to Baines down low.
That's the connection we all expected to see a lot last year, and if the Bullets want to compete for a title, it's going to be on the back of those two.
That's either a great pass or pre-season defense.
Oh, as the old Taco ad, why not both?
But Buenos does.
Shannon Scott, 5 points, 2 rebounds, 2 assists. He is that unassuming point guard who's going to fill it up in all areas, and we saw him last year for the Taipans. When a key player went out with injured, he would step it up. Had a 30-point game against the Kings.
And if you want to be following the key ins and outs, of course, download the NBL app, because that is exactly where you're going to find it. Every single thing that happens in this league, of course, short, concise scores, highlights, everything you need on the NBL app.
And some articles, don't say so myself. Shameless plug. That's going to be an offensive foul from Aaron Baines. Ian Clark is fired up. Ian Clark came out of the locker room. We know he wasn't happy with a couple of no calls in the first half, and he is still fired up out here.
You spoke before the game about Ian Clark finally getting a full preseason under the belt. He's a proven performer, and he's just yapping a little bit on the side there with Darryl McDonald. Now, knowing Darryl McDonald, D-Mac.
You reckon he stays subdued?
I'm not exactly sure who started that one, but I think it may have been D-Mac.
Well, we'll see Ian Clark.
As Clark gets into the paint there, just that aggression. Sobey pushes the pace, pulls up from outside, gets that one to go. The Sobey of old is back in NBL 23-24.
Sure, we know there's all the media around the feet heat, but he is wearing some exceptional looking kicks.
Yeah, they're not for me, Pete.
What, because they're basketball shoes?
Yeah, probably. Yeah, they're not Aaron Williams.
Yeah.
There's Baines with a strong defense, and that's what he can provide there.
Okay,
it's very, very tough to score on.
And when he's that strong down low, he's trying to post up Hook Porty right now, and Hook Porty just a bit of a jersey grab. That's exactly what's whistled. But again, we spoke about Supercoach. You're going to be talking a lot about it this season. If you do not have Josh Bannon in your Supercoach team, what are you doing? He's got 6 points. He's got 7 rebounds.
You do realise that the winner of this competition wins a Mitsubishi, and you are telling the entire audience who to put in their team.
Unfortunately, I'm not.
You know what I'm doing? I'm
eligible.
gatekeeping. I'm not telling a single soul who they should have in their team, because I'm going to have them in mind.
You're a blatant liar, because you sent me your team asking to see my team 2 weeks ago, and you had 3 players who I don't think are actually going to hit the court
because
in NBL 24.
Because I knew that you'd done more pre-season research, and yours might be a little more full.
To be fair, that's going to be a travel. Good defense from Luke Travers. With your team that you sent me, you did have Keanu Pinder, Bryce Cotton, Mitch Creek, all the top 5 highest paid players, and then you had no one else on the bench.
What about you found a hack in the back end of the system where I could spend as
Just
much money as I want? Look at Luke Travers, a great defensive possession there. He can defend 1 through 5, which makes him so special to this unit. Chris Goulding just looking to work to get open. He's got to work harder to get open than anyone else in this league with the way that he's guarded.
That's going to be a foul on Nathan Sobey. as well, just holding Chris Golding. And we see that action a lot from Melbourne United, that two-circle they like to call it, with the guard-to-guard screen and brush screen. And the idea is you're trying to figure out, are they going to switch on Golding and Shayili, or are they going to stay put? There's no chance they're going to leave.
Strong move through to Bannon, but be able to get the block back.
Great signs early here from Josh Bannon, coming into a rookie professional gig. And Aaron Baines just set another monster screen on Ian Clark.
So the thing that can happen here is when Aaron Baines screens, you feel it. And a guy like Ian Clark, who's also fighting hard to get over the screen, it's a recipe for tension.
I believe the terrace screen was coined after some of Banger's screens early on in his career. That full court screen, you don't call it out, you're going to feel it. Baines will sit down, 4 points. He's got 9 rebounds himself.
He's also got 9 years in the NBA, and I'll tell you what, the pension for playing 10 years is substantially more than playing 9 years, I am led to believe. So he's definitely, is he able to get there? You never know. But you play that 10th year in the NBA, you get a little bit more cash on the back end, as Rob Lowe looks to have just gone down.
Left ankle, it looks like he grabbed it straight away.
He turned an ankle.
Only touched down
The problem with being a tough player is they don't usually give you much inkling as to how bad an injury is, but
I think he's going to come out. He's just going to redo the shoes, making sure he's okay. One little stinger just looked like a left ankle roll, nothing too serious there for Rob Lowe. Brisbane Bullets hold on to a 3-point lead.
Alice Koenig's going to get down there and just see how Rob Lowe's doing, but he's going to stay in the game.
Alice.
For the time being. Zukarski back in the game.
Burned that bridge too early, Alice.
Bannon Lowe gets it to Zukarski, who barely leaves the ground. And throws that one down. Shayili points to the ground and says that one was on the floor. But I'm sorry, Shayili, that one was on your head.
Well, I think his feet were still on the floor. That's just the length of Rocco Zukarski. He's going to do that. He catches it that low. We have a look at the replay. Great little touch pass from Josh Bannon, and the big fella just goes upstairs and a little chin up.
I'm unsure of what the theory is called, but there is a theory out there that there are certain things that the human eye struggles to see because they're not human-like. And that there was one of those.
That's the excitement, and that's why he has the exciting potential with that size, that length, and just that feel. It's going to be good for his confidence.
Well, it's going to be great, and the biggest thing for Rocco throughout this blitz is going to be getting confidence.
Well, you look over at the draft section where all the NBA scouts having a look with the notepad. They'll go straight to their phones on notepads after something like that. Ian Clark's just trying to take over this game.
And again, there's some physicality creeping into the game now because there is pride on the line. And we mentioned we've got Justin Schuler going against his old team. There's a bit of contact there, goes unwhistled for Zukarski.
Well, he's going to hang around.
Looking to find it back up, and that is where he is going to be so damaging this year.
Throw it anywhere up. Zukarski will finish it. Melbourne United not happy because he did spend a week and a half in the key, but it doesn't matter. That could be an unsportsmanlike foul. It is.
An unsportsmanlike foul. And ladies and gentlemen, there is some tension in the air.
I can feel it come. Sorry.
Rocco Zukarski with 2 monstrous slams.
Oh, just throw it.
And am I going to go the early trumpet if I say that he's coming of age before our eyes?
Yes, you are, because it is the first game of the Blitz. It is, and it's 2 plays, but that's the excitement.
Of course, Josh Bannon's gone down as well. Looked to be moving okay on the floor, and he's just walking that one off.
But just
looks to be a corky the way that he's holding his leg.
Puts his body down low. He's going to be tough. If you don't get around, there's not too many guys of his size and length. If you throw it up there, he's just going to finish it, put a lid on it. An unsportsmanlike foul from Shaylee. That is going to be an unsportsmanlike any day of the week, whether it's the preseason or the real thing. Trying to stop a fast break opportunity. Rocco just testing out the ankle. Thankfully for him, he doesn't need to get too elevated off the ground to dunk it.
You don't need ankles. And physically, you probably still do.
I think you do, actually.
Knowledge of the anatomy is not great, but the point stands. Nathan Sobey goes to the line for the unsportsmanlike foul.
Easy too for Sobey. Push this lead out to 11 points.
11 points. Now, as we said, winning and losing is not the be-all and end-all of the preseason, but of course you still want to ingrain those winning ways early on.
Well, you mentioned the physicality. We saw it a lot in the earlier game with Southeast Melbourne and Tassie. Shannon Scott tees one up from the corner. That's no good. Marcus Lee and Milton Doyle both fouled out early in the third quarter. Everyone's still trying to get readjusted to the NBL.
Your thoughts on fouling out in the preseason? Should it be a thing? I know in the NBA, I don't believe you can.
Yeah.
You can foul out, but I believe it's 11 fouls.
Yeah, okay, well, there you go. It's a lot
It's
of
only
fouls.
happened once.
That is a lot of fouls. Hasn't happened before. There you go. I think when we're trying to play through it, you also want guys to understand that you've got to be smarter in certain situations. It's great outlet pass. That's what's impressed me most. Dean Vickerman's going to call a timeout. Defense to offense, and it's not just a turnover, but getting a rebound and Brisbane getting out and running. That's what Nathan Sobey does well, that athleticism getting out. Chris Smith had a couple as well. Brisbane are starting to hum.
Well, everything we've seen from Sobey so far, no inkling that there's any injury lingering there.
No, exactly right. And we talked about Aaron Baines just having that full season of health under his belt. Nathan Sobey coming off an injury where all you could do to rehab was rest. There's nothing more annoying, more frustrating as a player where all you can do is just rest. He finally got back and got healthy and played in the off-season of NBL 1, won a title in the NBL 1, so he's come in with a point to prove, and I'm excited to see Nathan Sobey get back to that level.
Well, Chris Golding, we mentioned that he hasn't really gotten out of first gear so far, yet to score in this game, but pretty even scoring across the board, which is what United would like to see. Shea Illy, 10 points. Clark with 11. Dellavedova, 7, who hasn't added to it since that first half. And, of course, Hook Porty with 8 very entertaining points.
Oh, absolutely. But speaking of entertaining, this man right here, this kid, Rocco Zakarski, that was the first one.
The second one that came was arguably
he just threw it
more
up.
impressive.
Just threw it up and basically just guided it into the rim. Here it is right here. Yep, okay, I'll put a lid on that. And Ian Clark is just having a smile saying, what could I possibly do about that? And the answer
But when
is
you
not
have
a whole lot.
when you have a guy with the capability to do that, it is such a tough one to guard because you always have to have someone near him. It's not like a big that they're going to have to throw a tough bounce pass to get it to him. When they can throw it directly over the defense to Rocco Zakarski, it is a very, very tough play to go.
And that's going to be, we talk about the chess piece for Melbourne United. For Justin Schuller, when they're at full strength and Tyrell Harrison's made strides forward, you're kind of thinking, where do I find a couple of minutes for him here or there so he can continue to grow throughout this season? So that's going to be an interesting thing to watch. Obviously, with no Tyrell Harrison in this game, he's going to play a lot more, but he's going to have some advantages throughout the league. A lot of the league likes to play small ball, and when that position arrives, can he take advantage of it?
Now, another thing that I think is interesting in the preseason is going over the foul limit. Both teams about to be heading to the free throw line at the halfway point of the third term.
You're right.
When, you know, I would like to think that a team would much prefer to be getting through their sets in the preseason than they would be shooting free throws.
That is exactly right. The physicality is going to lead to fouls, and it's 8:45. We've got 5 minutes left in the third quarter, so we're in for a late one.
And let's go, of course, over to Alice Koenig, who just had to listen into the Melbourne United timeout.
Yes, I did. I had to stay behind that black line. I made sure that I wasn't too close to the players or anything. But obviously, you know, Dean Vickerman wasn't happy with his team, giving up 61 points at that stage in the game. He wants his players to keep it simple, move the ball, share the ball. He thinks they should be up by 20 points in this preseason game, but he just really wants his team to play solid defense and keep it simple on the offensive end.
Thanks, Alice. And Melbourne United just pushing the other way here. Flynn Cameron, as Rocco Zakarski cleans that one up from well above the rim.
And that's one of those right there, straight after what Alice was talking about with Dean Vickerman. Flynn Cameron recognising that's got to go back to Chris Golding. He gave it to you, 2 players went, and Chris Golding was wide open as Zakarski finishes through contact.
Zakarski showing great signs.
Looking really good out there. But that's what the pre-season's for, just working out little things here and there. A lot of contact being left right here, and there we go. The whistle, that whistle was coming a long way away. Justin Schuller saying that should be legal. Rob Lowe sitting down. Here comes Ariel Hook-Porty. This is a matchup everybody wanted to see. Next star on next star.
Sam McDaniel, of course, just getting whistled for the foul there. Only the 14 games last year due to injury for Tasmania, but we know him to be a fierce, fierce defender.
Yeah, no doubt.
Of course, won a championship with United under Justin Schuller.
Knows a lot of these players very well that he's playing against. As Delhi back to the line. You mentioned both teams in the bonus. Still 4.5 minutes to go in this third quarter. As a father of an 11-year-old, I need no foul so that I can get to bed at a reasonable hour.
An 11-year-old?
11-month-old. Did I say 11?
You said 11 years old. I was like, Pete, I know plenty about your life, but I don't know that one.
That's where I'm currently at.
You managed to hide a jump shot from me your whole career, but not an 11-year-old. Mitch Norton gets in the paint now. Zakarski's going to light up the Scouts if that can drop. Can't get it to go.
He's got that.
But he's got a good mechanic. He's got a good shooting mechanic. He doesn't have one of those jerky Sean Marion type shots where you cringe.
Well, he had 23 points, 8 rebounds, 6 blocks against Cal Baptist. He was a solid 4.5 feet taller than anyone in CBU. But he stepped out and hit a couple 3 balls as well.
Flynn Cameron just using his strength there for bigger body over Isaac White. 9-point lead to the Brisbane Bullets. A little under 4 minutes to play in the third term. Zakarski gets through into the paint. Gets that one to fall. Did someone say Wembayama?
No, but what they did say is...
I'll tell you, I'm not saying he's Wembayama, of course, but I'm saying there is some similarities in the way that he moves.
We'll have to get a
Daly looks to get a little bit too tricky with it.
A big 7-footer, put him in the Fisher and Paykel, and he gets a block down the other end. This is the Rocco Zakarski show.
And again, impacts that one. Zakarski wreaking havoc on both ends of the floor for Melbourne United.
And he is understandably gassed. Just got a little stinger back on that ankle, but the ball's about to come his way. All of a sudden, you feel better. It's funny how that happens. You feel injured, and the ball comes to you, and all of a sudden, your eyes light up. But Rocco Zakarski is putting on some sort of display this first game here at the Blitz. He's got 11 points, some highlight plays. We don't often see that from a kid of his size and height. He's going to take a well-deserved break.
And yeah, we've got to remember as well, for a guy like Rocco, that the hardest thing for him is going to be coming up against bigger bodies. He's going to be able to compete with anyone that's weighs less than him. He's going to be able to use his size and get around them. But being able to go day to day against a guy like Aaron Baines and learn from a 9-year NBA vet is invaluable.
Well, no doubt, but you also look at who else is going to learn from. Greg Vanderjagt understands exactly what it has to do to succeed as a big in this competition. But Rocco Zakarski, this is turned into his show right now, and I know he's catching his breath, but we want to see him back out on the floor. We want to see some more highlight plays.
The Brisbane Bullets starting to build a convincing lead here. Dean Vickerman, as Alice said, won't be too happy with the defensive efforts of this quarter from Melbourne United. Kyle Bowen turns down the outside look. As Daly gets the fadeaway to fall.
That's the defense that Justin Schuller still wants to see. Even though Daly made that, it's a tough shot. You live with that every day of the week. Get up and in, be physical without fouling.
Well, Daly is going to be an X factor on offense because a guy that not necessarily is going to come out and give you a whole heap of points, but when he can have his nights and score the way that he can, it's a huge help because anyone that's on the court for 30, 35 minutes any game, and when they're not necessarily a major scoring threat, it's huge when they can have those 20, 18-point nights.
You forget when he was here 2 years ago, he had that explosion shooting the ball in Illawarra against the Hawks.
I do not forget. My Daly memory is great.
That's going to be a foul just stepping forward, Mitch Norton. Justin Schuller is not happy on the sideline. He is very animated. So we talk about a couple of players and stuff staying in first gear, just taking the blitz, taking the preseason nice and chilled. Coaches still have that switch about them. Justin Schuller up and in.
There is no world in which a coach is going to be chilled. No world.
Mike Kelly got a blitz technical in the first game.
Oh, that's unbelievable. Gets the first to fall. 12 points on the night so far for Matthew Dellavedova.
He's looked really promising.
Of course, coming off a year with the Sacramento Kings, used sparingly. And he's going to relish being back out on the court.
I mean, the whole Delhi story from his whole career is fantastic, but especially when he initially came to the NBL and said he's using the NBL to get back to the NBA, and a lot of people said that won't happen. Came out, did that, proved exactly why he can belong as that veteran head as Isaac White. Well, Isaac White doing Isaac White things, getting downhill. But now he's come back saying he wants to play. That's why he doesn't want to sit on the bench anymore like he was in the NBA. He wants to come back and play because he wants to put his best foot forward for Paris.
And we'll check back in with Alice Kunek as Daly loads up from outside, gets that one to fall. He continues his offensive night. But Alice, Josh Bannon went off with what appeared to be a corky.
Yeah, look, Josh is sitting on the end of the bench. We've got no update from the physio so far, but we've got an ice pack on the inside of his left knee, but I don't think we'll be seeing him again in the game. But Rocco is checking back in, so let's see what he can produce for us.
What I love about this is that Baines is still... We know that Baines is going to be massive for the Brisbane Bullets going forward, but he is all about watching this young kid succeed and getting to the next level. But I'll tell you what, ice on the inside of the knee for Josh Bannon doesn't sound like a corky. Hopefully it is just a bit of a knee-on-knee thing, but hopefully that's nothing serious because he was very ginger getting up and he's looked outstanding. Oh, Daly again.
Daly looks to pull again from outside, gets that one to fall, and Dean Vicken will be licking his lips.
Matthew Dellavedova. Oh, that's a preseason one right there.
That is an absolute howler from
that is a preseason call.
That is a technical.
But Daly lighting it up. 19 points. Just the way he's shooting the ball so confidently, and Luke Travers scoring for the Bullets on the other end, I believe.
I did mention before that Luke Travers was fantastic on both ends of the floor, but I didn't imply scoring for the other team.
I believe that goes to Chris Smith, the closest player on the floor.
You know what you used to always do in college?
Delhi again.
Delhi from the outside. Can't get that one to fall. The heat check. Travers upstairs. And Rocco Zikarsky just comes up a little proppy.
And he still had
on that ankle again. If I'm the Brisbane Bullets, I'm putting ice on that ankle and I'm saying, Rocco, good night.
Just trying to get through this, but you can see he just has certain movements where that hurts. As Kyle Bowen sends Isaac White, that's going to be going the other way. I would assume we might not see Rocco Zikarsky in the fourth quarter. He's just going to try and play out this minute. Looks very ginger on that ankle.
Lead has been trimmed to 5 points, a little under a minute to go. Melbourne United have just managed to string a few stops together. As Shea Ili gets right in the paint, gets it right over the tall, long arms of Rocco Zikarsky.
That's exactly how you have to finish over Rocco. That length. And again, if you're Justin Shaw, that's all you want Zikarsky to do. He doesn't have to block it, just make them have to make tough shots. Put it right up there as Tanner Krebs. This is what he does well. Defensively,
as transition.
Oh my Lord. Chris Smith, that is that linebacker frame. And Tanner Krebs asking for the foul, and from where I was sitting, looked every bit of that. The quick timeout here. Melbourne United have responded well after that last timeout.
Looks like we're going to have a cracking finish to this one. 29 seconds to go, 1 point lead to the Brisbane Bullets. Rocco Zikarsky putting on an absolute show for the fans here, and Dellavedova on the other end showing us that he is indeed an NBA talent.
Well, no doubt about it, but this is the next evolution of Delhi. We know what he does defensively. We know he's always going to be that leader and get up and in, be one of the best guard defenders going around. But if he's shooting the ball this confidently and knocking it down, as I said, last season in the NBL, shot 36% from three. So the way he's coming out now, if he shoots anywhere between 36 to 40% from three, it changes who Delhi is. And he's put his front foot forward, wants to be on Paris. We're going to keep talking about it, no doubt, throughout the entire year. Well, it's going to be hard to not have a look at it.
I want to raise this one to you, Mr. Hooley. Aaron Baines, as a big, strong body, mainly as a defensive use, if he can get himself at some point, now I'll admit that right now we're probably not seeing the level of what we would want to see him to be able to get to Paris, but when we look at what the team needs and the role that he's played in the past for the Olympic team, you know, he's not getting any younger, but I think there's a world in which that can be entertained.
For sure, and I think a lot of it's we're all geniuses in hindsight, because unfortunately when Jock Landale goes down, and what happens in the World Cup, you're thinking, we 100% could have used him. I think everybody just wants to see him get back to that level and dominate this league, which we all know he can.
Zikarsky's going to remain in the game for this final 29 seconds. The Bullets are going to have a shot at it, potentially United a chance to answer back. A 1 point lead for the Bullets. White under pressure, manages to hold on. Gets into the paint, throws the head around, finds Johns on the outside. He can knock it down, and he does just that.
Instant offense off the bench. Matt Johns coming in.
Matthew Dellavedova will see us out, getting all the way to the rim, and the double-handed block from Matthew Johns, a development player. Matty Johns in his second year as a development player, and a guy who, you know, 2 to 3 years ago, he spent a little bit of time at a Boomers camp. He's got some potential. He took a little bit of time off.
I have to go into the NBL Blitz archives, but I can't remember the last time that 2 back-to-back quarters finished with double-hand blocks from a team. Baines sent Shea Ili into halftime, and then Matt Johns there. But again, that's what the beauty of the Blitz. Josh Bannon, unfortunately, looks like he has been ruled out of the rest of this game with the ice pack on the knee. So everybody else is going to get an opportunity throughout the whole week as we look at some other stats. Isaac White still 13 points. Smith 14 points. Rocco Zikarsky 11 points. He's been the talking point. Him and Delhi right now. Delhi 19 points. Shea Ili's got 12 points. And then Josh Bannon has 10 boards as well before getting ruled out. So
you know what that says to me, Pete Hooley? Super coach points.
Well,
that's where my mind is at. And I'm going to gatekeep all the other players that I think are going to have big seasons.
Well, like Bryce Cotton. good call. Way to go out on a limb.
You know, I think I found a Smokey in Mitch Creek.
Well,
they might have a big year.
This kid in Perth Wildcats, Alex Saad, not too bad. It looks like an exciting prospect as well, with 1 quarter to go here.
Well, that's the thing. We're talking about Rocco Zikarsky. We haven't even touched on, you know, Trenton Flowers, Alexandre Sarr, that are just going to be, just as exciting, if not more match ready than what Rocco is at the moment.
Yeah, no doubt. And again, it's going to be hard. The way he performs at this level, it's hard to continue to remember that he's not going to be eligible until 2025. So,
and if you're reading the NBL website, you might be
you could come out and average 20 and 10, but he's going to have to wait one more year, which is going to be great for his development once again. And in a perfect situation, when you've got a coach that you know so well, you have that relationship with in Justin Schuller, good things are going to happen.
Don't forget, if you want to tune into the NBL this year, the NBL app is the place to go. But if you want to go courtside, then Alice Kunek is the one to go to. Alice, what's happening down there?
Thanks, Felix. Just listening to Coach Schuller's timeout. He was super positive, really proud of his team. He said it's 0-0. So if they win this quarter, they win the game. He was really impressed with how his team is executed, and that last play with Johns was the play that they drew up. So he's really happy. He wants his guards to get downhill and win this game.
Well, Alice, I want you to go back into that timeout, and I want you to tell him that it's 74-70. He must be looking at the wrong scoreboard.
He must be looking at the wrong scoreboard, but you know what? I say it to myself all the time. 0-0, you win by 1. It's a ball game.
I say the same thing, but I'm usually reading out my own stat line.
Oh, Felix.
Matthew Dellavedova gets that one to 4, continuing a big offensive night.
There's been a lot.
From the NBA star.
Talk about the physicality. There's been a lot of holding off ball in this game. A lot of teams just having that feeling out process, but everyone trying to come off screens. I think it's going to be a real focus for the rest of the week. And good thing about the Blitz is when the games aren't happening, obviously the referees talk to all the coaches, fill them in on the points of emphasis, and I think one of those this year is illegal screens, which we've seen a couple of them called here, and especially offensive contact I've heard is one they're going to look at a lot, whether it is that push-off, but more so potentially going up to lay it up or dunk it. If you have that off guard and kind of wipe away as a defense,
the Dennis Schroeder special.
Dennis Schroeder, you're going to be called for an offensive foul. That's the point of emphasis in NBL 24.
Zakarski remains in the game. Of course, had a couple of little ankle scares early. Isaac White from the outside started off hot, hasn't exactly been able to find that form in the second half. Illy. Kyle Bowen with the hard screen. We haven't seen too much of Hook Porty in the second half, of course, after some entertaining plays in the first. Travers gets that one to roll.
Shea Illy woke up really ginger from that one, just took a hit. And anytime Shea Illy takes a hit, everybody holds their breath.
You'd be hoping that was in the lower 3/4 of the body, of course, there for Shea Illy, who's had concussion issues in the past.
I think it was.
Missed a substantial amount of game.
I think it looked like it was a bit of a left leg.
Only played the 14 games for United and was noticeable going 10-3 when he was in the lineup.
You see there the replay, it wasn't anything to do with the head, thank goodness. But again, another one of those players where if he's showing any signs of pain, there's got to be something there because he is as tough as they come.
United with a 6-0 run to take the lead early in this fourth term. As Illy's done a great job getting deep into the paint throughout this game. Illy, of course, as we mentioned, coming off a big World Cup campaign. We say FIBA Paddy, well, over in across the ditch in New Zealand, they say FIBA Shea.
We can only have one, so it's FIBA Shea or FIBA Tarangi, and Ruben Tarangi was exceptional for the Tall Blacks.
Illy once again getting deep into the paint. Flips it up and over, can't get it to finish, but he'll head to the free throw line.
A minute 15 seconds into this fourth quarter, Brisbane with 14 fouls already. So Melbourne United in the bonus for the rest of this. Shea Illy still hunched over.
I think Shea Illy is going to come out of this ball game for the captain.
Well, not until you finish your free throws. They're 3 points. Doesn't matter where you are.
It depends who's shooting them. There's certain players out there that probably wouldn't say the 3 points, Pete.
Yeah, well, I did airball a free throw on here in 2018, right where he is actually. So that's.
Were they giving out Hungry Jack's cheeseburgers that year, or did not yet?
Thankfully, watching it back, the commentators were actually talking about something else, which is really nice.
Chris Golding's looking to check back into the game, the captain of Melbourne United. He's been there since the start, since the change from the Melbourne Tigers, of course, to Melbourne United.
Yet to hit the scoreboard so far in this one, which we're not going to say very often, if at all, when it comes to Chris Golding. That's the preseason. There's not too many guys who can just flick a switch when it becomes real. He is definitely one of those. As Shea Ili picks up a foul knowing that he is going to be subbed out of this game.
Dellavedova leads all scorers with 22. Shea Ili with 13 for Melbourne United. Shannon Scott gets deep into the paint, kicks it out to DJ Mitchell. We know he can knock it down from outside there. Calls for the foul. I'll tell you what, a little bit of a late call. And maybe some persuasion from DJ Mitchell gets the ref to blow the whistle there. But as we said, you know what? It's pre-season. You can be a little bit slow on the whistle as long as you get the right call.
We'll have the coaches challenge in the regular season. It's always good. I try to keep some stats on all the coaches challenges.
Looked to be potentially a tough call there for Travers, but the old hand is part of the ball mentality here, which doesn't often apply to three-point shooters.
I'll tell you what, speaking of the coaches challenge, we need a coaches challenge right here. In the Blitz. They're going to have a look at this.
It's a coaches challenge.
They're going to get it. We were talking about it. Well, this is interesting because obviously it is the Blitz, and we'll see so many coaches challenges throughout. Normally they're on a block and charge call or something of that nature. Luke Travers, first preseason game, first Blitz game for Melbourne United, and we talk about players getting the coach to challenge. If the coach can't see it.
It's a bold one.
Certain players are in that circle of trust, certain players are potentially not. Luke Travers has asked for it, and he's going to get it.
And, you know, we just saw a short replay there. There was some contact. It didn't seem to be substantial, but there was definitely contact. Now, when you're a three-point shooter and there's really any contact, we know the shooter's protected. The challenge is unsuccessful. The referees win this time.
Yeah, good. I actually thought he was coming to give me a hug. I looked up from my box score, and there he was.
Unsuccessful challenge. You're talking about being a young player on the roster and telling your coach, hey, challenge. Now, the hard thing was there's contact there, and they're always going to protect the shooter.
Sorry, I'm still a little startled. Referee was right up in my lid. But you're right, there was the contact. And again, I think that's somewhere where if you're Luke Travers, and even if he doesn't initiate that from Dean Bickman saying, you know when you've touched someone, when you've fouled someone, so maybe you just turn and say, don't burn it here. There's no need to do it. I definitely got him. And we're going to have there's going to be a lot more angles, a lot more ability to zoom in and do all that in the regular season.
3-point lead for Melbourne United. DJ Mitchell is going to the line for three. Josh Bannon again, for those just tuning in, ruled out of this game with some ice on the knee. Speaking of shooting, are you still getting amongst it, Pete?
It's interesting you bring that up out of nowhere, but that was actually when the call was getting put together this morning. Heath O'Loughlin and I came out and he introduced me to a little game that he created with some mates, and it was a shooting game. And let's just say that I could be out here right now based on that form. There's no way I would be, but all I'll say, I won't say a whole lot, but 10 straight to win is all I'll say.
Kyle Bowen gets his first points in the NBL Blitz in a Melbourne United jersey, and we're just going to go down to Alice Kunek in a moment just to see what she's seeing from court level. But Melbourne United still just holding on to that 3-point lead. Alice, what are you seeing down there?
Well, Huck Porty's just about to check into the game. I honestly thought he was finished, but Daly with the 3 no. But I've really been impressed with Kyle Bowen's minutes. I'm surprised that Dean Bickerman, I'm really impressed, has kept him in the game, and he's played some really great defense and obviously just had that great score. But Luke Travers, once again, defending the rim, doing exactly what Melbourne United need right now.
He's an impressive talent, Luke Travers, and of course Kyle Bowen, a St Mary's product. Playing there for 4 years under Randy Bennett, is always going to come out fairly polished. Only averaged the 5 points for St Mary's, so was never really called upon to score the ball in a pretty talented lineup.
I don't think that's ever going to be his role. You look at the type of player he is, and he's going to come in and be that glue guy. He's going to be exceptional defender guy. He really gets trusted by the coach to go out there and not make mistakes, be really solid defensively.
And Baines just still struggling to get much touch on the inside there as Mitch Norton Gets it from the outside, and we've got a tied ball game, a little over 7 minutes to go, and there's a little bit of push and shove between Aaron Baines and Huck Porter. You can see that they're both challenging each other.
That's what we're talking about. Physicality's been unbelievable tonight, just everybody, and there's going to be a foul on Aaron Baines. Huck Porter going to the line, but just the one thing, the holding off the ball is the one thing for me, and I'll tell you what, it's
Melbourne United. Baines
going to sit down with his fifth foul. So Rocco Zikarsky back in. You give the people what they want. The people want some Rocco.
You know why? This team, if Rocco Zikarsky can get himself to a point, which it appears to be, he's at, where he's more than serviceable, then if you've got to play him a little bit more than you probably want to in the preseason blitz, then so be it. Because the more we've seen how quickly these young guys improve. You look at, we harp back to a guy like LaMelo Ball. His first half of the season was solid, but his second half of the season was absolutely amazing. And we've seen that with almost every next star that's come into this league. You look at a guy like Rocco, if he can get 3 heavy games under his belt now, he's going to be all the much better for it in the season.
What he's doing, hasn't put a foot wrong, so you're kind of looking at it like, how can you not play him some minutes if he's going to deliver this? And maybe not to the volume that he has in the regular season, but at least throw him out there. And we'll talk about the Next Stars program and how it sets players up to be drafted. Look, you can't look any further. You mentioned LaMelo Ball and Josh Giddey. When he signed with Adelaide, really wasn't on the draft board too high. Halfway through the season, was touted as potentially a late first round, early second round pick, and then when he gets drafted as a lottery pick and what he's continued to do. That's the testament to obviously coming in and doing your thing, but also Australian basketball in very good hands with Mr. Giddey.
Josh Giddey, what a World Cup, a coming of age. We saw an almost passing of the torch from Paddy Mills and Joe Ingles to Josh Giddey throughout that World Cup. Of course, the tournament didn't end as how we would have wanted, but Paris is the main goal. If you said to me you can have in some people's words, a lousy World Cup performance and we could take a Paris medal, I'd take it any day of the week.
Yeah, the one setback for me, you talk about the Boomers in the World Cup, the one thing that really disappointed me is that America finished 4th. Now, USA go and win that, they probably send a similar team to Paris, but now
that is 8.
Now you've got LeBron, you've got Steph, you've got KD, you've got these guys saying, we're coming back to win. Obviously, if you want to be the best, you've got to beat the best, but a couple of those guys just relax for a little, would you?
It's a fantastic point, Pete. The biggest fear that we had was LeBron would fire up the group chat and say, hey.
Apparently he has.
Captain America, assemble. Or Avengers, assemble.
I think Draymond adds himself to that chat, or do you think he's already in that chat?
I think LeBron's got a restraining order on him at this point. Dellavedova up to 23 points on the night. He's going to get rewarded with the sub. Flynn Cameron coming back into the game.
Been exceptional, Delhi, just on the offensive end. 16 minutes, 24 points.
Well, it's easy to get carried away in the preseason, but we can expect this sort of offensive production from Dellavedova. It's going to be a very, very special
Game
team.
2 of an exciting week here in the Gold Coast for the Blitz, and you talk about getting carried away. You've already come and said that this is a coming-of-age moment for Rocco Zikarsky. One dunk into his career so far.
Oh, it's the theatre of sport, Pete. It's the theatre of sport.
All that quote goes on Instagram. And the
Chris
rest
Golding
is history.
still yet to trouble the scorers.
That should have gone to him once again.
Cameron gets the fadeaway lefty. Zikarsky style gets that one to drop. A 4-point lead to Melbourne United. The Brisbane Bullets open this quarter up with a 4-point lead themselves, and it's been turned on its head. A little under 6 minutes to remain. Sobey can't get that one to fall, but he's going to go to the line for 3.
Really smart play from Nathan Sobey. That's that punch screen action where you get it super high at the half-court line, you come downhill, and he knew from the moment he caught that before the screen had even come from Zikarsky that he was going to stop on a dime, because Flynn Cameron, that type of player who gets up and in, he's not going to be able to stop in time, and he's going to clean him up, and he's going to go to the line for 3. So that is a veteran head against the rookie right there.
As you say, defenders like Flynn Cameron, Sam McDaniel, even Dellavedova himself, when they can get into these sort of little nicks, the seasoned veteran players are able to draw those type of fouls on them. And I'm just wondering, I know that Alice Kunak has annoyed Melbourne United more than once tonight, just trying to get a little bit too close to the playing group and just get some of the answers to the questions we need. But I know that Josh Bannon is sitting right there. You might have to talk to the media manager first. But Alice, do you have any updates on what could be wrong there with Josh Bannon?
Well, I did ask the physio when he first came off the floor, and he said, no update yet, and I think I'm too nervous to ask again.
Well, I'll tell you, mate,
give me one moment, I'll ask him again. I'll see, but I definitely don't think he's returning back into this game.
As long as the physio knows what's going on, then he's probably in good hands.
Yeah, he seems to have a pretty good idea.
Hopefully it is just a knee-on-knee action there.
Don't make Dr. Von Hoff walk down that baseline and get to the bottom of this. No, but he's a standout talent this year. And a lot of people looking forward to watching Josh Bannon play. We hope it's just a minor knock, and he's just given the thumbs up to someone in the crowd there. So I suggest that he's going to be all right. Puck Porty matching up with Zukarski.
This is what we want to see. Next star on next star. And
great defense from Mitch Norton, just getting his hand in the pocket.
They've been doing that all game. When you've got the likes of Mitch Norton, Sam McDaniel, Shannon Scott, the way they play off the ball, yes, they might hold a little bit. They might be very handsy, but it's exceptional. McDaniel was looking for Zukarski. Zukarski looking up at the rim like he was ready to go and meet it.
Well, it's always different. There's a lot of guys on this team that probably haven't played with a player the style of Zukarski, one of these super tall, super long, you know, not necessarily at this stage in his career with hands that he's going to be able to catch these crazy sort of passes. So you do have to keep your head up and hit him, you know, pretty much on the chest.
Yeah, you're right. He's still very raw in terms of his
talent. Sobey with his go-to off the inbounds. How many times have we seen that?
Sobey into double figures now. This is the Sobey we're going to expect this year. He's healthy now. He's had a season under his belt getting back from that injury.
Travis just looking to work, using his strength down there. Can't get the bucket to go, but he's going to draw the foul on arguably the bigger body than Chris Smith.
I think Travis just starting to insert himself a little more in the second half. Got the 9 points, 5 rebounds, a couple of blocks. The guy just does everything.
And Pete, we can harp on winning and losing not being the be-all and end-all of a game, but when the scores are tied at 83-83, instincts take over. Well, I think we're going to see a pretty intense finish to this game.
I think the key is you want to look through those situations when at practice where you have those situation drills, 2 minutes where you're up or what, how you go about pressing, doing all that to get back to win. And this is a perfect situation where it's not practice, it's a game, and it doesn't matter in terms of the overall standing. So we're tied away with 5 minutes to go. How do we approach this situation as if it was a real thing?
4th foul on Chris Smith. Of course, Aaron Baines already fouled out of the game with 5. A 2-point lead for Melbourne United. We've just ticked under 5 minutes to go in this game. Norton surveys. Chris Smith finds it on the outside. That's his strength. Gets the contact. It goes unwhistled.
I'll tell you what, that is a beautiful offensive set. I said that keeps some things close to the chest. I thought that a play like that might be, but that was executed exceptionally well.
A hard foul from Luke Travers goes unwhistled.
There is more, bodies on the floor.
There is some tension in the air. These players have been starved of the competitive basketball for a while, a majority of these rosters. And they can smell blood in the water here.
Floor wipers earning their keep here at the Gold Coast Convention Centre because there is some bodies flying around. Physicality, next level.
Of course, the Brisbane Bullets over the foul limit. Ian Clark will head to the free throw line. A 1-point lead for the Bullets.
11 points for Ian Clark.
And we touched on it earlier, but his season with the Warriors was, you know, as good as any import in the league that we've seen in recent memory.
Well, I think the biggest positive about it, yes, he's joined Melbourne United, who have a lot of talent, but he has got that full season ahead of him. It's not just 10 games, it's not just qualifying and then having a big part of a championship series like he did for the Sydney Kings. He's got a whole slate of NBL ahead of him.
And Shea Ely just hits the deck as Mitch Norton pushes it out to Sobey. Sobey playing in the corner, throws the arm out. Now this will test. You mentioned that the league is looking towards that offensive contact. Not going to get whistled for it there.
It looked like one of those, and I think Scott Butler, the referees sitting, they're all watching. Again, everything about this blitz for players, for coaches, the same with referees. They look back and analyse everything, but Ian Clark's just getting up and in. I think that's a lot of that.
Ian Clark is a competitor. You don't play 6 years in the NBA without being a competitor, and we're seeing that here.
He might have got away with a couple of fouls prior to that whistle, which is why he was on the other end of that.
Sobey gets the matchup on Clark, pushes from the outside, can't get that to drop. But Mitch Norton dives on the floor, can't keep it up. Chris Golding will steady the pace for Melbourne.
Shea Ely's still very ginger. Looks like a lower back, maybe a glute.
Well, it's interesting. We've seen a couple of players pull up ginger from contact and remain in a preseason game. Ely, great defense from Mitch Norton. Kicks it out to Rob Lowe's. Had success so far from outside. Can't get that to fall.
And that's exactly why
Chris Scott will clean it up.
That's why they have Rob Lowe out there. Try and bring Sikorsky away from the hoop.
Sobey showing that pace. Sikorsky
Luke
can't
Travis.
get it to fall. Just a little bit of teething there.
Well, it's hard. Luke Travis coming in the held side defense. 3 blocks now for Luke Travis. Still think he would be the short price favourite to ever get a 5-by-5 game. 5 steals, 5 blocks, assists, rebounds, points. As
Rob Lowe, another attempt from outside. Gets that one to fall. Big bucket, 3 minutes 17 to go in the fourth quarter. A 4-point lead for Melbourne United on the back of a Rob Lowe triple.
You do underestimate how good of a signing it is as that nominated replacement player. For someone who can stretch the floor, Ari Hook-Porty doesn't have the ability to step out and really shoot anywhere past that free throw line extended. So Rob Lowe, he is a knockdown shooter. When you've got a big like Sikorsky and Baines who like to stay low underneath the hoop, they can't do that when Rob Lowe's out there because you have to be aware of him to shoot the 3.
Well, the benefit of having a guy like Rob Lowe out there, if you are going to play that sort of small ball style, sometimes you're going to struggle against teams with guys like Baines, Sikorsky, this sort of size. But if you can bring Rob Lowe out there and punish them with this sort of stuff, and I'll tell you what, he will be loving his role with Melbourne United. Fresh out of retirement, come over to Australia, sit there, ping from the outside.
Nothing better.
Once JLA comes back in this, we've got to remember that as we watch this game play out, Joe Ingles, who was an MVP candidate in his year with Melbourne, I believe at one point he was leading the points and the rebounds. He's going to come back into this lineup. Now, it's one of those ones where if the team's rolling, how do you fit a guy that has that much impact back in the team? But it's a good problem to have.
Yeah, no doubt. And just such unfortunate timing with his injury. Was slated to go across to Summer League, was slated to go and try against the best, and that's what we want to see him. We want to see him in that next level in the NBA, but selfishly just happy we get to watch another season of Joe Ingles.
3 minutes 17, 4-point lead for Melbourne United. It's been a seesawing affair so far. Of course, Dellavedova the standout for Melbourne. And a concerted effort from the Bullets team. 17 for Chris Smith, Sobey 13. And Isaac White with a massive first half with 13. Sobey just continues to penetrate in there, manages to draw the contact.
Just smart play again. He's done that a couple of times. Rob Lowe didn't mean to get in the way and foul. As soon as he got the contact, just throw it at the hoop. Not too many players will do that as well. Any contact around there, just throw it up, go to the line. Nathan Sobey starting to get aggressive to close this game out, as you said, Felix. Yes, it is the blitz, but when you've got a chance to win a ball game in this situation, you want to do it.
Man, every player's out there's got pride. You're never going to let a game hang in the balance and not go 100%. Well, Pete, if you're going to miss clutch free throws, you're better off doing it in the blitz.
Sobey has got more aggressive here in the second half. And that is called the commentator's moles once again. I gave it to Isaac White, you gave it to Nathan Sobey. So 1 for 1.
Well, Isaac White just hasn't really been able to build on that first half, but of course it is just pre-season, so let's not get carried away.
The Bullets have shut down Aaron Baines for the rest of this game. They are ultra small. They are running and scrambling everything. Chris Golding yet to score. Stays the same. They have DJ Mitchell playing the 5, Sam McDaniel playing the 4. And 3 small guards, Sobey Scott and Isaac White. They're just switching everything. With DJ Mitchell, that is 100% an offensive foul.
That is a tough one to argue, and you can see that Sobey is now I hate using the term, but for lack of a better word, the alpha of this team is Nathan Sobey. He's the head of the monster. When you look at throughout this game, it's pretty even scoring, but when push comes to shove down the stretch, he's going to be the man.
Oh, I'll back you. I think he is. We're going to go down with using that term, the alpha. But he's their man. Again, you want to compete. It's Shea Hilly.
Shea Hilly after the whistle. Woo! And they're going to count the points on that. The rare poster jam from Shea Hilly.
You saw him sizing it up. He's been a little ginger. We thought he was injured.
And we'll watch the replay here because the whistle looked to be whistled.
Come get Shilly with me.
In the 2 steps. And Nathan Sobey says, I'm not going to let you have all the fun. I want in on that poster.
A referee in front of us. Maybe got a little bit. That's a very generous continuation, but we're going to take it in the blitz. Gave me nothing for the get Shilly with me. Bit off that, but we'll go forward. He has got sneaky hops. We will put that in the sneaky hops category.
Melbourne United just starting to push out now. And that offensive rebound, Chris Golding has not yet troubled the scorers. And that continues. Zikarsky pulls down the board. A 6-point lead. A little over 2 minutes to play in this game.
Why CG turns around with a little smile on his face. You get he is in first gear. It's just the way he's always played. But he is coming off an unbelievable season last year for his age.
You'd think the Bullets are in much need of a score here. They're not going to get it.
Rocco's
travel for Zikarsky, and again he comes up limping on that ankle.
Well, it's just going to be sore. I think Justin Schuller at some point might just have to save him from himself. I know
Schuller, if you're not going to sub him out, I'm going to walk over the court and sub him out myself.
We've basically done it
right
here.
now,
he's played too well. He's had some really strong moments, 11 points, but that ankle he did in the first quarter, he's had to play through it, and when he has to go and sit down and then try and stay warm, come back out there, it's just not possible. So that's going to be another one on ice for the rest of this game.
Melbourne will just eat up as much clock as possible and absolutely no rush. A 6-point lead. A little under 2 minutes remain. Dellavedova with his signature turnaround. And no luck for Chris Golding in the corner there, and a lot of contact throughout. We saw it in the earlier game of this doubleheader. The refs letting both of these teams play.
Yeah, he's not happy at all. And right now we see Matt Johns is playing the 5 spot with Zikarsky and Baines and Bannon, who are out of this game. So they're playing small ball. Dean Vickerman said, I'm going to match that. Luke Travis, as we said, he can play his utility. He can play absolutely everywhere. Currently in the center position.
You saw the way Matt Johns finished that third term, or that second term. As Scott with a quick cross gets it out to the corner. Smith, that's his strength.
It's pretty.
Gets it to fall and keeps this one a ball game. 3 points, Melbourne United lead. Dellavedova has led the offense throughout this game. They're going to need him to finish this one out. He's got the mismatch he wants with Matt Johns.
Delly calling
gets
his
past
ISOs.
Straight deep into the paint for his signature turnaround. And we know no different.
This is just an impressive offensive. And again, yes, he's put up 26 points, but it's the aggression he's shown, the confidence he's shown. This is what we want to see from Delly. Everyone said that he looked in great nick in the preseason. He's come in with a goal in mind, and if this is the way he's going to play, look out.
Smith from outside. Bang! Gets that one to fall.
He can stroke it. He can absolutely stroke it, Chris Smith.
Chris Smith, back-to-back threes, a 2-point game. When the Brisbane Bullets were all but done and dusted, Chris Smith.
5 of 6 from downtown. But Chris Smith, United up 2, 45 seconds to go.
United happy to use the clock here. Illy pushes into the paint, a little off balance. And DJ Mitchell denies it at the last line of defense.
Shea Illy's still grimacing for a little bit, and unfortunately he's not going to get away with that because you can't be grimacing, go and dunk it, and then get blocked and then grimace. It doesn't work like that.
Delly can't get that one to fall. The rush shot from outside, and Chris Smith, the miracle man.
Bullets a
of
chance.
The previous 2 possessions.
Chance to tie or take the lead. Don't tell me we're going to have Blitz OT.
Scott surveys the floor from the top, gets it to the hot hand in Smith. Gets through to the paint. Can't get that one to fall. Travers will pull down the board. Back into the hands of Dellavedova.
That's going to potentially...
Who gets a hard foul at the half-court line. You wouldn't expect that's going to be unsportsmanlike.
Well, it's the whack across the body. It's not going to be. I could read the lips from the referee saying a play of the ball, but anytime you use the outside arm and almost hug a transition player, it's going to get looked at.
But Chris Smith gets right deep into the paint. He was a millimetre away from continuing this remarkable late-game run.
He had a lot more time than he thought, but I'm not sure whether he got spooked. The helpline defense was Chris Golding coming across, so great contest from Chris Golding. Delly just gives him a 3-point buffer.
The Bullets will be head in hands praying for a miss here to keep this one a 3-point ball game. 27 points on the night, Matthew Dellavedova. Make that 28. And a timeout to the Brisbane Bullets. They trail by 4 with 10.7 remaining. Chris Smith has pulled off 2 heroic plays to finish this. Almost pulled off a third, but he's going to be required for a 4th and a 5th.
You think they're going to...
The Brisbane Bullets are going to be able to pull this one out from the depths.
One of the threes he hit was an exceptional play where they drew up. They got something else now to look at.
We look at this highlight. Shea Illy taking it down the paint. Nathan Sobey, thank you very much. And Chris Smith coming up big for the Bullets down the stretch.
Just a beautiful shot, Chris Smith. So balanced, so poised.
Well, he's so strong as well. He can shoot, he can fade away, he can get into the paint. You saw that last play. Just unlucky to not get the finish there.
I'm ready to see the three-point contest back in the NBL on All-Star Weekend. If you're doing imports or locals type All-Star game. Because the three-point contest, we've got the likes of Bryce Cotton, Chris Smith. I think the way he strokes in terms of being balanced will be great. Chris Golding, obviously. And I'll tell you what, talking about different signings, we'll see him later in the week. Yongjon Lee from Illawarra Hawks has come in to this league. I spoke to him in Vegas, and he said, I believe I will be the best shooter in the NBL.
We love the confidence.
That's his quote, not me.
Well, Ray John Tucker came out and said he was going to be the best import in the history of the NBL, I believe. He just got off to a slow start. He started to find himself towards the end, but we've seen some people call their number a couple of times and not necessarily live up to that expectation.
Bold strategy, Cotton.
But I hope the young fella does. One of the best shooters we saw in this league, Rodney Clark. Of course, an Illawarra Hawk himself, as Matt Johns is going to inbound the ball. You would imagine on the previous possessions or anything to go by that Chris Smith will end up with this ball in his hands.
Or a diversion to Isaac White.
Gets the ball, Smith, one dribble. Can't get that one to fall. Johns with the rebound, turns it over. Shannon Scott will get it, but this one is going to time out DJ Mitchell with the last second shot. Can't get that to fall, and it's a 92-96 win for Melbourne United. An entertaining game. Matthew Dellavedova leads all scorers with 28. A remarkable offensive performance from the Sacramento King. And of course, Chris Smith was heroic down the stretch. Not quite enough to get it done. But Peter Hooley, a good effort, a good hit out from both teams, considering pre-season.
Yeah, this is a great storyline. You talk about, we're going to see hot and cold throughout the whole week, both as teams and individuals. And it started with Ariel Hook-Porty was enormous to start with. Then Rocco Zakarski showed signs. Delhi came in ultra aggressive, and then Chris Smith lit it up down the stretch. So everyone showed just flashes of what it could do, and this is what you want to see. You want to see just more positives than negatives, and then less negatives as the week goes on leading into round one.
Well, when we came into this game, the main things we wanted to watch were Rocco Zakarski, of course, who came out and impressed, did far more than what I expected, and looked far more impressive at certain times. And I think once this team learns how to play with a guy of that sort of length, he's going to be a serious problem on the offensive end.
Yeah, exactly. This is all you want to see. This is the more than you would hope to see at where he's currently at in his career and his age. So that's a really promising start, and hopefully he does get a few opportunities to continue to grow this year. And then next year in the NBL, that's what I'm really excited about before Zakarski declares for the draft.
And of course, Melbourne United, they were fairly heavily reliant on the scoring of Chris Golding last season. Now we're going to watch some highlights here, but Chris Golding ends this game with a donut. And Dellavedova picks up the load on the offensive end. You'd be pretty happy if you're Dean Vickerman with what you saw on the offensive end, maybe some stuff to come on the defensive end.
Yeah, no doubt. Again, we're not going to see that from Chris Golding in the regular season. It's just flat out not going to happen. But for him not to be relied on totally, and you look at last year how hard he had to work just to get open at times with the lineups that Melbourne United threw out on the floor with the lack of shooting. You've got Ian Clark. If Delhi's in this mode, you can't leave Delhi unattended on the three. Rob Lowe now, when he's going to step in, when JLA comes in, you can't double off Chris Golding. Big year ahead, you think?
Give me an A through to F grade for both teams. Here, I'm going to put you on the spot, Pete.
I mean, Brisbane, I think they showed flashes, but in the end, their defense, you give up 96 points. I think both teams to give up 90 are not going to be happy with it. I know it is the Blitz.
And this is going to be a shooting team. This is, you know, parts of this Brisbane team remind me a little bit of the Southeast Melbourne teams we saw under Simon Mitchell. They're going to be very heavy offense. Now, Zakarski and Baines can plug a few gaps on the defensive end, but you know, for the most part, we've got a lot of offensive prowess type players.
I think it's easy to just sit on the fence and say they're both B's teams today.
Oh, that'd be easy, Peter, but it'd be boring as well.
But we looked at what Brisbane did last year. They look vastly better with just the roster, just the talent they have, the personnel on the floor. They look in a lot better shape than where they were last year. When you've got all the likes of all the different pieces, Chris Smith's great, Sobey getting back to being that main guy without having to worry about setting up the team. That unlocks Nathan Sobey. If Delhi going to play at that level, then it changes the way Melbourne United already look strong.
Well, Pete, it's easy to sit here in the comfy confines of our little padded seats, but I'll tell you where it's tough, in the trenches. Alice Kunek behind. I believe a restraining order from both teams. Alice, am I correct?
Geez, it is tough out on these streets. No one wants to give you any information. I promise, I just wanted to know if everyone was okay.
Oh, I'll tell you what, that's how the best do it. They work into it, of course. Fantastic work. Alice, what did you take from this game?
Look, Brisbane impressed me more than I thought they would at the beginning here. Obviously, Rocco, really impressive. Chris Smith was a great addition to this team, and I think he'll just keep getting better and better in this league. I think this team needs to really find their defensive identity as a group. Obviously, 96 points is far too much. But conversely, Melbourne United are a defensive team, and 92 is still too much to give up to a team. So I can imagine both coaches aren't super happy, but it was a great game of basketball, and I'm looking forward to the season.
Certainly are, and we thank you, Alice, for your work tonight. Peter Hawley, you've been fantastic as always. A great hit out. Some big signs from Rocco Zikarsky, of course, the one that we wanted to watch here. Melbourne United get the win, 4 points, 92-96 over the Brisbane Bullets. Plenty more Blitz action coming up this week. We'll catch you tomorrow.